talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Good afternoon and welcome to Talk Today. My name is Patrick Schmid and I'm standing in for Sterling doing eBanks. It's a pleasure to be here with you, our listening audience here in the Cayman Islands. And of course, that includes Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, and Cayman Brac, most importantly. And we have with us in the studio some excellent guests who will provide some wonderful information for all of us who are concerned about the ongoing pandemic issues surrounding coronavirus. And so when we return from this commercial break, we will hear directly from our experts.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flu.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Schmid, and I'm standing in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Unfortunately, Sterling is not with us at the moment, but nevertheless, he's in good hands and perfectly safe. So it is a pleasure to be here, and I am here with clinical psychologist Dr. Alexandra Bawden, who is no stranger to you. Welcome, Dr. Bawden.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And also I have one of her newest colleagues, Miss Baldwin. Hello.
Hi,
welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. And today we're going to focus on trying to turn the experience of the pandemic that we're currently all concerned about into a more positive experience, or rather gleaming from it that which can be positive, as opposed to focusing too much on the negative, which inevitably leads to complications and challenges and depression and all sorts of different things that these ladies are far more qualified to speak about than I am. You are, of course, welcome to call in at any time should you have any questions. And just by way of reminder, the numbers are 949-8037 or toll free, courtesy of Flow, 1-800-534-8255. You also can send us a WhatsApp or a WhatsApp message on 925-3261, or even email us on talktoday@candw.ky. So without further ado, I'd like to pass over to Dr. Alexandra Bawden. And Dr. Bawden, would you like to take it away for us?
Yeah, and thank you for having us on. I know that it's been a crazy couple of weeks.
Yes.
I was thinking back to this year has been a lot between the earthquake and then the dump fire, and now with the coronavirus taking the world by storm.
Yes.
There's definitely been a lot going on, a lot of stress in the air, a lot of uncertainty. So really appreciate you having us on to help people understand what's going on, trying to normalize a lot of the reactions that they're going through, and hopefully provide some information to help them make the most of this time to support themselves and their families.
Absolutely. I'm sure it would be fair to say that I speak on behalf of the public in this regard in saying that we're so lucky to have persons like yourselves amongst the community who can give the kind of advice that you're qualified to give, and to sort of give us a way out of the negativity that obviously inevitably surrounds such an event. So welcome once again.
Yes.
Ms. Baldwin, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, thank you again for having us on. I think that, it's already March, and it's already been a lot going on this year, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and I think that provides a lot of the anxiety with everything. And that's something that we're here to kind of discuss and help validate and normalize, because we're all feeling the same thing. And what we can do to support each other, even if it's through the social distancing or through social media. How can we do that to support each other through this hard time?
Absolutely. I've done a bit of reading just to familiarize myself with some of the suggested things that are coming in from all over the world, from professionals such as yourselves, regarding how to stay positive during such a global pandemic event. And it's very interesting, and some might say fairly basic stuff, but stuff that we wouldn't necessarily think of when we're under stress. But in addition to that, not just staying positive, but the fact that being in a positive frame of mind, it is my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong, helps one to perhaps strengthen their immunity. And indeed, because obviously if you're not depressed and you're looking at things optimistically and hoping for the best, you tend to have a stronger immune system. You tend to have more resilience, and therefore there are a lot of benefits to taking that approach.
Yeah, for sure. Once we get under stress, we activate what we call the fight or flight response in our body. And what it does is it releases adrenaline and cortisol in order to help us, essentially, from back in the day, to be able to either fight a lion or run from it.
Right.
These days, not many lions around. So what happens is when situations come up like this, it activates the same crisis response system within our body. And our body gets flooded with these chemicals and these neurotransmitters and these hormones to help us to prepare for a crisis. Helpful in a situation where you actually are in danger, but over prolonged periods of time, it can take a toll on your body and especially the immune system. And so that's where we then become more vulnerable to things like flus, unfortunately.
Yes.
So being able to be aware of that and doing things, basic things, to help to regulate our body can help to transition us from that fight or flight response back to, it's activating the parasympathetic nervous system, getting our bodies back into homeostasis, gains back to where the body likes to be, so that everything begins to function properly.
Right.
Easier said than done, for sure. But a lot of different little things that people can do, and I think recognizing there are things you can do to manage the stress is important. But probably even just to start with recognizing the stress that your body's under. There's so much happening these days with every afternoon. I know my office, we sit and wait for the announcements every day at 2 o'clock from the government to see what's going to be happening next. All of us are living under this pressure. So we may not even realize the toll it's taking on our mind and body.
Yes.
And so, and the children, of course, as well. They're going to school, they're not going to school. Now they have to be in school online. But the internet's down, or their computer, the camera's not working. There's now all these new sets of dilemmas that they're having to deal with.
Yes.
So we're constantly having to be in the moment and just pushing through things. And it's important to recognize that has an effect on our body, which might be difficulty sleeping, changes in appetite, we might be more irritable or more emotional than we have been before. We might be really tired. So there's all these things that can happen in our body.
Yes, I guess that's especially sort of accentuated when people are going to self-isolation or indeed have to be quarantined.
Boredom is one of the worst things for the mind.
Yes.
Right? So because it opens up everything.
Yes.
If you're more the anxious type and you're glued to the social media, and heaven help us with the amount of fake news that's coming on, you're going to be worked. I have some friends that keep comparing this to an apocalypse movie. I've seen the same movies and I see where they're coming from, but that's a difficult scenario to feel like we're facing. But if you're at home alone, these are the things that catch your attention. And when you worry about things, we tend to overindulge in those. Because humans like to be in control of things and like to understand things. And that's where monitoring social media use is going to be really important to balance expectations and stay reality and fact-based as well.
And I think one of the self-defenses that you use is let me expect the worst, so that way then I know, okay, I'm more prepared. And so that's a lot of that thinking as well that can kind of come out of isolation and everything going on.
Yes. And we see on a global scale where people have been doing things like, purchasing inordinate amounts of every type of supply that they think they might need, and it being a little bit or maybe a lot over the top. And obviously here in Cayman we've had various public service announcements and so on suggesting that people should get what they need, but don't overindulge in as if it's going to turn into something much worse. And it's just not necessary to buy every single thing in the supermarket at this stage.
Yeah, and I think it's difficult because it's that it's kind of funny. It's kind of that group mentality that it's easy to really buy into. It's like, well, what if? It's a lot of that what ifs that goes through your mind.
Yes.
Well, what if I'm not going to have this, or what if I need this?
Yes.
And it's just really like Dr. Bodden said, then taking a breath and just realizing, okay, wait a second. What's more rational? It's easy to get caught up and become irrational about some of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially like you said, with the group think everyone else is doing it.
Yes.
So we feel like we need to do it too.
Right.
And so that's where even things that I love how Cayman has embraced the social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've made jokes as we came in here, but I see everyone practicing it. I think that's really great. You know, it's going to be those kinds of things, using this kind of group think and the power of group dynamics to help protect Cayman.
Yes. I mean, obviously, we're in a particularly good position insofar as I think that by and large, as you said, people tune in to the daily press briefing that the government is making sure to get out the information that's the most recent information to the general public. And that's a great thing that we have perhaps percentage-wise more people doing that than, say, logging on to social media and picking up on things that are not official statements per se. But I think that we're going to have to go to a short commercial break, and as soon as we return, we can discuss a little bit more about that.
Start getting your debt under control with a debt consolidation loan from Fidelity Bank. At Fidelity, your loan decision is quick with no runaround. Plus, with competitive interest rates and fees, we will help you reduce your monthly payments and get you back to living again. Don't let the burden of overwhelming debt tie you down this year. Call Fidelity today and let's make it happen with a Fidelity Bank debt consolidation loan. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Preventing dengue is as simple as preventing mosquito bites. Use a mosquito repellent, wear protective clothing, and stay indoors during early dawn and dusk when mosquitoes are most active. Control the places around you where mosquitoes breed. Remove stagnant water in outdoor and household settings. As a weekly habit, persons should change the water in vases, clear the water in saucers under potted plants, and ensure air conditioner drip trays are free of stagnant water. Outdoor objects capable of holding water should be kept empty and preferably disposed of or put into dry storage if not used. These include open bottles and tins, watering cans, buckets, empty paint tins, and old vehicle tires. Do your part to control the spread of dengue. The dengue virus is an infectious disease transmitted through mosquito bites. Symptoms may come on as early as 4 days or as late as 3 weeks following an infection. There is no vaccine or specific medication to treat dengue. Symptoms of dengue include high fever, headache, pain behind the eyes, joint and muscle pain, and rash. If persons have any of these symptoms, they should go to the nearest health center or hospital. It is advised to drink lots of liquids and avoid medication that contains aspirin.
To protect the health of staff and customers, Water Authority Cayman has ceased providing face-to-face service and closed its office to the public until further notice. Only essential services that ensure customers have water supply will be provided. Customers can still conduct business with the authority electronically. If you need to pay a bill, visit our website waterauthority.ky and click on the Pay My Bill button. Payments can also be made via the local banks. Customers can contact our customer service team by emailing info@waterauthority.ky or calling 949-2837. Customers in Cayman Brac who require truck water can continue to make requests by calling 948-1403. For updates and important messages from the Water Authority, visit our website waterauthority.ky and our social media pages.
This is a public service announcement from your Radio Cayman, your community radio station. Here are some coronavirus prevention tips.
Home isolation means staying indoors and completely avoiding contact with other people. You need to do this if you have symptoms of COVID-19. If you are practicing home isolation, you should stay in a well-ventilated room with a window to outside that can be opened separate from other people in your home. Keep the door closed and use a separate bathroom from the rest of the household, if available. If you have to share these facilities, regular sterilization will be required. Consider drawing up a bathroom schedule for washing or bathing, and have the isolated person using the facilities last.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. My name is Patrick Schmid and I'm standing in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. I have the pleasure of two ladies here with me, Dr. Alexandra Bawden, who is no stranger to us, and Miss Baldwin, who's recently joined Dr. Bawden, I understand. That is to say, practicing together.
Otherwise, that'd be a different show.
Yeah. Glad you clarified that.
Thank you. Sorry about that. But we are talking about the things that one or we can all do to make the best of this difficult experience with the coronavirus. And so, of course, I'm going to shut up right away and pass over to our professionals so that they can tell you the information that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Baldwin, Ms. Baldwin?
Well, I would say to start with, because as I said, a lot of times humans like to be in control. Focus on what you are able to do right now, right? There's a lot of things we're not able to do, and that can be hard if that's what we look at. And so with this time, as everyone's transitioning, as are we, into online services, taking the time to get everything set up as you can. If you're working at home, try to get your office area set up, whether it's your living room or the guest bedroom, wherever it is you're going to be staying. And I'd say go ahead and play with all the technology that your office has sent you, as well as with your children as they're coming home from school, and try to get everything set up to set yourself up for success, right? Yes. So I'm telling everyone, make the most of the downtime, right? This is actually a really cool opportunity to learn new technology that we have, to spend more time at home. So there's some cool opportunities that are coming from here. Mm-hmm. But if you're like me, it's easier to do things as opposed to just trying to just kill time. Yes. So focusing on getting everything set up would be helpful, and setting up a routine at home as well.
Speaking of routine, if I could just interject there. Yesterday, the Honorable Minister of Education and her chief officer were both here, and they were discussing the packages that they have put together, and they're putting together for, the schools are putting together for the kids to work from home, both in terms of actual physical hard copies as well as internet access, depending on the circumstances. And, they were giving examples that they have already heard about parents, for example, causing the kids to get up at the time they would normally get up, to dress in their uniform in some instances, just so that they have that, they're in that frame of mind to do the work that they need to get done. Yeah. And is that something that you'd recommend as well?
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's best to stick to as much of a normal, I don't like that N-word, normal routine as possible, right, to try to keep the structure, right? When things go out the window, it will fall behind on things, and the days begin to run together, which can add to the stress and the anxiety of everything going on. Sure. Especially with the kids. Yeah. Keep their routine. Some of the schools are actually checking to make sure the kids are online at the time they're supposed to.
Oh, right.
But even so, that way, if we do transition back in May as well, or end of April, then they'll be ready to go back too. But that will help to keep bedtimes on track, keeps eating on track. When we get under stress, we forget about those kinds of things. So it's good. It's important for the kids, also important for the adults.
Absolutely.
To get up, have your breakfast, let the kids go to their computer, you go to yours. They can have their snack time.
Make their bed. I think that's very important to also make your bed. Because it helps just prepare you for the day.
Teach them some new chores.
Yeah.
Wash the car.
Make the most of the time at home. Exactly.
Yes.
But I think that it's difficult for a lot of the parents and the teachers and the students who have to be at home. But like Dr. Bawden said, I think this is a great time to try new things. You can start cooking with your kids and doing simple things like math with them. Like, okay, how many eggs? Or let's do a cup of this, a cup of that. So I think it's really easy to add in routine and schedule and learning into almost anything you can do at home.
Yes.
If you put in the effort. And I think that's going to be a main thing, is the effort needs to be put in.
Yeah. Well, especially that we're not going to have the commute times anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
I was reading an article this morning, what to do with your commute time. Go for a jog, have some tea, so some cool. Might be cooking dinner with the kids. Some cool options.
Yeah, and of course, there's a lot more to an education than the formal education, and a lot of times with in the type of rat race world, some would refer to it as, that we tend to live in these days. Parents don't often get that opportunity to have time with their kids that they would like to have in an ideal world, and now. Albeit not the best circumstances, but we're put in that position where we do have an opportunity to take advantage of the time that we have together and appreciate each other, and and to do things together, which I think can only be helpful.
Yeah. On that same vein, though, I'd also say be ready, because it's going to be everyone at home.
Yes.
Right? So I will say, with the technology, I know that I've already run into it with some of my clients, as I'm sure, and at UCC, we've also transitioned online. So there's been lots of technology glitches. It's a huge learning curve for many people. Some people don't even have the technology at home.
Right.
So I was like, be ready for it. Right? Don't get frustrated. It's not just you. Everyone's been through it, so find out who at the school or who at work to call when you run into it. Right. It's going to happen. Yeah. And likewise as well, with everyone being in the home, there can be some stress and some tension, because we're not used to having the kids there when we're working. They're not used to having mom and dad or the dog around, so it's going to be different challenges than we're used to, but trying to stay in the moment and go with the flow.
Yes.
Seeing it as an opportunity or an adventure.
Right.
As opposed to an issue, can be helpful just to change that perspective.
Absolutely.
And keep the communication open, because I think that's one of the things that really can get lost very easily in the rat race, like you said. But now this is the opportunity to teach good communication and be able to express, okay, I understand you're angry. Let's talk about why you're angry, or what's going on, or how we can process things. And it's another good learning opportunity.
And that probably goes both ways, doesn't it? I mean, I think, as Dr. Bodden was alluding to, the parents obviously are under huge stress, because they are probably even more sort of cognizant of what is going on, and they're probably thinking about, well, when is this all going to come to an end, and then what, and when are we going to return to normality? And I mean, personally, I would think that the best thing to do is not to focus too much on that, because since we have no control over it, and we don't know when those things are going to end, but we can only hope for the best, and stay in that frame of mind of that in the end it will win through, but being cognizant of the fact that that stress is going to rub off on kids as well, is very important, I would think.
It does, and I think that's where like I said previously, communication, to just let them know and talk to them, so that way they don't hear about some fake news on social media or somewhere else, and let them be able to ask questions, because I think that will also help the kids and the young adults with this uncertainty right now.
Yes. And they may well be, they're more likely, kids are more likely, or young persons are more likely to see this stuff on social media, which is, and we keep getting reminded by all of the officials everywhere, but in particular, speaking about Cayman, they keep reminding us, please pay attention to the official briefings only, to the HSA website, to the all of the information that emanates from official sources, basically, as opposed to the hearsay and the Mara Road and everything else. And I'm not referring to Mara Road in particular, a certain website. I'm referring to the general Mara Road.
I agree. And if you're the kind of person that tends to worry about things, or if your kid has has tendencies to worry, maybe changing the news. Get updates somehow on your computer, as opposed to having the TV going on all the time. When kids are constantly hearing it, it feels like it's happening again and again.
Yes.
So it can be helpful just to limit the amount of news and social media that they're getting exposed to as well.
Right.
So that way you can control some of the information that they're getting and be able to answer questions, like Miss Natalie had said.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'm just going to take this opportunity, as we're just about to go to another commercial break, but I'll take the opportunity to just remind our callers that we have Ms. Baldwin with us and Dr. Bodden with us, talking about coping mechanisms, perhaps, if I could term it that way, to take a more positive perspective on the current crisis that we're all facing internationally, and also to remind our listeners that you are welcome to call in and ask questions of these ladies. Whilst you have the opportunity, I think you should take up that opportunity. And the numbers again are 9498037 or toll-free courtesy of Flow, 1-800-534-8255. You can also send us a WhatsApp message on 925-3261. And so we'll be back very shortly after this commercial break.
If your business is over here, but your customers are over here, adding more yellow to your business will bring you both right here. With everyone searching yellows, print, online, and mobile app, getting your business noticed is easier than ever. Book your consultation today at findyellow.com.
For the health of it, Radio Cayman's premier health show is brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy, the Cayman Islands Civil Service Association, Holy Cross Hospital,
Cayman Fertility Center,
and eatingclean.com.
This is For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
This is a public service announcement from your Radio Cayman, your community radio station. Here are some coronavirus prevention tips.
Self-isolation is an effective precautionary measure to protect those around you, your family, friends, and colleagues from contracting COVID-19. You or the person you are caring for should remain in your home except for getting medical care. Do not go to work, school, or public areas, and do not use buses or taxis until you have been told by the Public Health Department that it is safe to do so. You will need to ask for help if you require groceries, other shopping, or medications. Please seek the advice from the Public Health Department.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Well, his proxy is here. My name is Patrick Schmid, and I'm standing in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. We're in the presence of Miss Baldwin and Dr. Alexandra Bawden. And I understand we have a call on the line. So I would like to go straight to the call. Good afternoon, caller. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Good afternoon, sir.
And your guest. I have a question. Well, not a question, a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
Because it came about when I was trying to find an apartment, single apartment. And I think that's one of the problems. There's a lot of people, especially those working like the nurses or doctor, hospital, police, that have contacts with the public, unavoidable contacts, and they want to have their apartment separate from their home with all their families,
Right.
And now I'm looking for a studio or a one-bedroom, and it's almost impossible to find. So if there's anyone that knows about anything, either call the radio station when they have my number. But there should be a lot of people that also want a single apartment, a lot can't afford it, that want to get away from all their families. Yeah?
Okay, sir. So may I just inquire to the extent that we can be helpful with that? Is there a particular reason that other than, are you experiencing symptoms or anything like that? Is that why?
No. In fact, I'm in the hospital.
Oh, okay, I see, sir.
And I've been discharged.
Right, sir.
But I can't find a good apartment. So actually, I'm in at the hospital. I've got the clearance of all the doctors here and I'm in good health.
Yes, sir.
And transfer heart problems. But no, if anyone knows about anything, one-bedroom studio, and there's been a lot of price gouging in rental in the last because of the shortage of apartments. Maybe somebody that has apartments can kind of give a better deal now that with so many people leaving.
Yes,
there
sir.
should be some apartments opening up, and it's sure that people would want to rent them out as soon as possible.
To be honest, sir, pardon me, but to be honest, I'm not sure that those who have left the island have left on a permanent basis. It's a temporary arrangement. So I'm not sure that would change the things in terms of the housing market and the availability of apartments. But have you taken the opportunity, and if you haven't, can I suggest that you speak also with your doctor and perhaps get that doctor to speak to the relevant person there at the HSA or whatever hospital that you may be at to perhaps assist you with that process?
I've done all of that.
Yes, sir.
And the social services, I am trying to get through to people here. I've had different people checking on internet about the whatnot. And it's very difficult. Like I said, this time, not in Amina, but it's a lot of people would like to have an apartment where they can be apart from their family, like police and doctors and such, that have to deal a lot with the public. You know?
Yes, sir, I understand.
So it's not just for myself. I mean, I can go sleep on the beach or whatever, but, you know, it would be nice to have an apartment.
Yes, sir.
Somewhere. And this is not a government thing. I'll be paying it myself.
Sorry.
A lot of people have the word government take too long to pay. Right? Or the word rent to somebody and they're leaving the island or something. And according to President Trump, this could go on for another year, 18 months. You know?
I'm not sure that the real scientists have any timeline per se, but you're absolutely right that we don't know at this stage how much longer we could be faced with this. But you did indicate, I believe, sir, that that you've left your telephone number with the station already.
Yes, I did this morning. I'll give it to you again if you want it.
Oh, well, sir.
Off there, I'll give it to him.
Yes, sir. That would be the best thing. And then, to the extent that we can find any additional information that may be helpful to you, then we'd be more than happy to provide that, sir.
Oh, yes. And like I say, I have some difficulty. According to me, there's a lot of people that would like, all these students coming back and different things. Government is trying to find a place for them, but there's a lot of people coming back from abroad that would like a single place they can stay. Some maybe a few weeks a month. But I want something to get for a long term, like a year or two at least, you know?
Right, sir.
So if anybody out there here and can assist me with that, and that's not only me, but maybe they can call in and give their, if they have in a room, to let the radio station publish a list in the Compass. Because then people know if they want a place, they can look in the newspapers to see a long list of available apartments. Because but right now, you know, if you have someone leaving on Sunday and you want to rent your apartment, put in the newspapers, you will have a quick rental, which means a continuation of the rentals. Right?
Yes, sir.
And will able to call in and give their opinions on it.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you very much. Do you have any questions for either Dr. Bawden or Ms. Baldwin?
No, but I guess this is the same thing, and they know that people that might be suspect to it, or in places like the doctors, police, and whatnot, that deal a lot with the public, I am sure they will agree that it's best if they have a single bedroom that they can save for themselves.
Yes, sir.
You know?
Sorry, go ahead, Dr. Bawden.
Yeah, no, I think you've provided some great resources. Natalie and I are actually both a part of the Business and Professional Women's Club of Grand Cayman as well, and so we do have an active list on our Facebook page of different resources that are available. And so that's going to be for everything from, and if anyone has anything to add or any recommendations for changes, we've got advice for employers and employees, financial information, as well as where to go in times of need. It sounds like, caller, that you've already investigated a lot of those, so I wish you the best of luck with finding the apartment, but there's a lot of good information out there.
Excellent.
I know GIS has been good about getting information out as to where to go for support.
Does that answer your question, sir?
Oh, yes. And one other thing I mentioned is not about apartments, but I'm a student of meditation and things, as well as good Christian. And if we started off a chain where everybody, not as praying, but whatever higher power, but if you get up in the morning from, say, sunrise, it's 6 till 7, or 5:30 till 6:30, you know, And if everybody choose that period of the day for a meditation and focusing on finding a cure for the coronavirus, and since we have like 130 different nationalities here, if they call back to their home countries, you could have millions of people focusing on that one thing every day. With the change in time changes, it would be like that. People are meditating 24 hours a day. And I know, because like I said, I studied power of the mind and all that, if that was to happen, they would find the cure very quickly. There's no doubt about it, because it's going to get up to, oh, God can do a thing, we pray. But you have millions of people meditating at sunrise all around the world. The forces of nature will come to play that they must find a cure. I put that up for those who understand some of these things, because I believe in prayer. Don't just get up and pray and shouting a lot. You got to lie down, sit down quietly and meditate and listen. People talk a lot, but a lot of them don't want to just lie down and listen to the voice of God. Right?
Yes, sir.
So another suggestion I make after they call up their home countries and try to get a series of people meditating every morning at sunrise. And we have this all around the world. There's no force that could stop them getting a cure, because that's the law of nature. So one of the laws of God, then, that it will happen. Right? I thank you all much for your time, Dylan.
Thank you so much for calling, sir.
I definitely agree with the power of positivity and the power of prayer.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great idea, and that's one of the things that we were going to talk about was meditation and finding ways of relaxing. But religion, spirituality can be a great way just to find your center and feel more grounded right now with so much going on around us that we can't understand and we can't control.
Yes.
And I definitely think that, there's always a positive in everything. And I think one of the things that this is showing us is to be more still and to listen and to be more mindful. And a lot of people are trying the mindfulness, the meditation, the faith or whatever. So this is one of the positives from what's going on.
Yeah. Your body cannot be anxious and relaxed at the same time.
Right.
And so finding ways of being able to calm your body, to relax your mind through meditation, through different relaxation exercises can be a great way to tone down those neurotransmitters that we were talking about that keep us quite amped up.
Right.
There's actually an app that I really like called Headspace.
Okay.
And it starts with 3 minutes. I love relaxation exercises. I'm a beginner with meditation, and it starts at 3 minutes, which is awesome.
Right.
But they actually have a whole section it goes up to 30 minutes for people who are pros.
Right.
But they actually have a whole section for right now with the coronavirus going on. So a whole section of free resources of sleep stories, of meditations, of relaxation scripts. So that can be a cool way of being able to have just something on your phone to help you to calm down and to relax. And if you forget to do it for the day, it will remind you.
Yes.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah, that's good. Always need the reminder.
Exactly.
Well, there may be people in the listening audience who are not so familiar with the concept of meditation, but I have to say that I have done some meditation. I'm by no means a pro at it, but it is amazing once you actually try it, once you give it a chance, the difference it can make in your outlook, the difference it can make in your anxiety levels, and your positivity overall. So I would endorse that recommendation.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's lots of apps that you can use. Headspace is my current favorite. And I think it's great that they've put, because they all have like free sections and then you have to pay for the other stuff. But they've actually launched a whole section for this. It's called Weathering the Storm. That's on Headspace. Calm is another one that I like.
And I believe Calm is doing a free trial right now because of what's going on as well.
Awesome. Headspace is one that's completely free. Not Headspace, Smiling Mind.
Right.
And so there's a lot of apps out there that can be used to help with that, just to bring it in. And it can be just for a few minutes.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be for 30 minutes to start with. It's great for adults as well as great for kids, too.
Yes.
Yeah, to do it with your kids as part of the schedule and the routine.
Yes.
It's time that we have some mindfulness and some meditation.
Yes.
And I think, Dr. Bodden, that you brought up that Headspace is only 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we go into mindfulness and meditation, I'm going to do it for 30 minutes. And
Right.
that's just too overwhelming to
Right.
start small and then build up from there
Yes.
as well. Yeah.
And for those persons, for those persons who don't have access to the internet, there is also a lot of information available that you can access. For example, well, obviously we should exercise a sensible mobility if we're not self-isolating, and so we might not have access to the libraries or what have you. But certainly there is information you can perhaps call the HSA and get some advice on that. I don't want to speak out of turn on that, but I'm sure there are people that would be able to help.
Yeah, any counselor or therapist is pretty much happy to do it. I know we've got resources on our website.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different options out there.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have internet, then definitely call a provider,
Mm-hmm.
and they can generally provide you some tips.
That's excellent.
Something that is coming today is actually going to be a mental health helpline,
Right.
and so government is doing that. We've recently developed the Cayman Islands Psychological Association. So Ms. Shannon Seymour, the co-founder with myself, has actually been heading that up, and so that will be available to the public as well. I know we've had lots of calls at the office, people just not sure what to do, looking for support, wanting some help, and so that is always an option. I think pretty much all the services, all the different agencies have gone online. Many of us are trying to fit in new clients to accommodate all the stress that's going on right now.
Yes.
But that is a great option that they can have, just to call in, talk to someone for a few minutes, get some support, get some guidance, and then if needs be, they can refer you on to someone else.
Sure.
Or maybe that's enough for you, just to be able to talk to someone who's not family,
Yes.
who's not caught up in the same, system and situation that you're in, someone separate, and it will be manned by mental health professionals. So it'll start with the Employee Assistance Program as well as Counseling Center taking the calls from 9 to 5.
Yes, and it does give you an objective approach. We have to go to commercial break, but just before we do, I just quickly add that for the benefit of our listening audience, let's not forget, those of us who were here during Hurricane Ivan and in the aftermath, how much it affected us before we many of us even realized it. So dealing with these issues now is so important. Anyway, we'll be going to commercial break and we'll be back shortly.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
For today's biggest news. Access.
Local, regional, international, this is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
Customs and Border Control would like to clarify that from today through Sunday, March 22nd, Caymanians, residents, essential personnel, and persons with connections to the Cayman Islands arriving on flights from the United Kingdom will be permitted to enter the Cayman Islands, but will be expected to observe a strict 14-day isolation protocol. CBC says non-residents and tourists will not be permitted entry and should not be boarded on incoming flights. Due to the COVID-19 travel restrictions, tourists are not approved for landing in the Cayman Islands, and tourists who remain in the Cayman Islands are encouraged to leave by Sunday, March 22nd. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. The United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said cafes, pubs and restaurants must close tonight except for takeaway food to tackle the coronavirus. All the UK's nightclubs, theatres, cinemas, gyms and leisure centres have also been asked to close as soon as they reasonably can. Mr. Johnson said the situation will be reviewed each month. And social distancing would be needed for at least half of the year to stop intensive care units being overwhelmed. And that's according to the U.S. government's scientific advisors. The Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies recommended alternating between more and less strict measures for most of a year. Strict measures include school closures and social distancing for everyone. Less restrictive measures include isolating cases and households. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. My name is Patrick Schmid and I'm standing in for Sterling Dwayne Banks. We have a call on hold and we'll go straight to the caller. Good afternoon, caller. You're on Talk Today.
Hello. I think that subject that you were on when you went to news, and I think it was a call before it that was pretty deep into it. I think that's a very important element for this community at this time.
Yes, sir.
In this period. And, you're talking about meditation. That was a daily practice of a lot of our forefathers and mothers. I mean, in the churches collectively, as you want to call it corporate meditation, or however you want to describe it, but that was a daily element of the Caymanian community's life. And I think we've gotten too far away from it. I mean, it was heartening yesterday to hear Talk Today start with a prayer.
Yes,
and that element, maybe I think would be a good thing to be practiced at all levels, and especially from those who govern us, because there's no greater, I think, approach than public manifestation of our faith, and that is an important element, and hopefully that it will be raised to a level that we've never seen before in these times, and it really should be. And I think, Mr. Moderator, you're on a platform there that you can really advance it up. So
you know how to apply the pressure, sir. But I would agree with you. But please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, well, sometimes that's what has to be done.
Yes,
but, I think it's important, and it should be on many platforms. In fact, every radio station in this country at this time, I believe there's 19, maybe more now, should have an element of that in their daily broadcast. Somewhere along the line that daily, because what does the good book say? Pray without ceasing. And prayer can work, it will work, and it has worked.
Yes, sir.
So, and as I said, you're on a platform there that you can sing it.
And whilst I have you on the line, sir, may I just take this opportunity to ask your opinion? You mentioned at the outset of what you were saying, unless I misunderstood you, that obviously prayer, meditation has traditionally been a part of our daily activity, and which we seem to have lost by and large, which is unfortunate because of the importance as the professionals here have stressed, and also as you have indeed alluded to as well, and I understand what you're saying and I agree. I'm just wondering, in light of the fact that we do have, and the previous caller did make this point as well, that we do have nationalities and religions and people who are even agnostic or atheists or so on, but who still can dedicate some time to meditation and still have a positive result from that. Would you agree that also applies to them?
Well, I think so. They're part of the community, and I think, as has been mentioned, I think the community is under a lot of stress, and certainly they can do their part. I think that the suggestion that the previous caller had is a great one, and it should be a corporate approach, community corporate approach to this whole thing.
Yes, sir.
I'll just say this in passing, because there are many people within the community, Caymanian, I'm speaking out, that has gone through some of these things, have done it in situations similar to this, and I think you will find out from all of them that their faith and their belief, was the thing that buoyed them through all of that. I mean, you just think of our forefathers fighting the mighty seas and winds on the ocean. Some of them for days and weeks. You know, I think what the community is being asked to do at this time by the authorities, which I think is the right approach, would pale in comparison to what our forefathers went through and took on to bring us to where we're at today. So
yes,
I think the whole community ought to sort of recognize that, and you know, as I said, one thing that could help in alleviating some of this stress, and I think you're doing today, is identify some of these folks in the community who can relate to a lot of these things. And, you know, you don't have to bring them in the studio. You can do it by phone. And, you know, because it is important, I think, to the community at this time.
Yes, sir. And just to add that that's the advantage that we have over our forefathers insofar as we can get on the telephone and talk to people and discuss these kinds of things. So, but I also would not belittle the fundamental point that you're making, which is that, you know, on a daily basis on the high seas, and I can't speak from experience, but certainly from knowledge of the history, you know, some of the challenges must have seemed at times insurmountable, but focusing on the fact that you will be getting home and that things will be okay and that you'll see your family again and that you'll be able to see those smiles and hear that laughter again and things like that, that must have been what had carried him through those difficult times. Am I right, sir?
Right, yeah, you're right about that. And as I said before, there are people within the community who can relate to that and maybe, you know, expound on some words of wisdom. I mean, I can speak from my own experience. I was in a 9-month period of something similar to this many years ago, 1958, in fact, to go by. And the one thing that carried me through was knowing, you know, my faith and having belief. I mean, I would walk by, I don't know whether you know anything about liquid oxygen, but
probably not as much as you do, sir.
I would walk by portable liquid oxygen 2 and 3 feet apart every morning, and probably for 6 months. But it is important that we use this meditation ability to converse with the higher levels, and, you know, do what we're I think we can do easily. Meditate, pray, and hope for the best. Do our part.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, did you have any questions for either Dr. Baldwin or Ms. Baldwin?
Well, I heard a little bit about a little bit of what they were talking about at the just before the news, and well, I think they're making a lot of good suggestions, good sense, and they also on a platform where they can raise this meditation level up and reverence to a higher level, which is where we need to be.
Yeah. No, thank you. And I love that you also said to find what works for you as well. I think that's important. Yeah, there's definitely different things that we can each do together, but also finding what's important for each one of us.
Yes. I mean, we're not all built alike, and you know, we find our own level. The people would say, find our own water line, and you know, just keep paddling.
Yeah, I think something that I heard you say a lot is community, and I think that's really important right now is whether, like you said, there's mindfulness, meditation, but that there's still a sense of community, especially for those who are being isolated. That's something that's important.
Yes, and as I said, you know, with all the communication capacity that we have nowadays, and radio is one of the most common to everybody. I think it should be ramped up and used to much higher level.
Yes, sir, and we certainly appreciate that, and all of the suggestions that you have made. I think we all agree 100% on that. Is there anything else, sir, or did you want to?
No. I would just like to just rewind a little bit back to the suggestion that there are people in the community who can relate to a lot of this, because I don't think the world is, except for the wars, have ever seen what the whole world is actually involved in at this time.
Yes, sir.
But there are people within our community, Caymanians especially, who can relate to what we have to deal with, and the Caymanian psyche, the Caymanian ethos, the Caymanian culture, and coagulate a whole good approach to this whole thing of stress.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And we're going to be continuing for another 15 minutes or so with these ladies, and then unfortunately we're going to lose them. But we hope that we'll be able to provide some more answers for yourself and the listening public as well, in terms of suggestions and so on, to turn this situation to a more positive one. At this time, I think we're going to have to go to a commercial break, but we will be right back.
At Canine Resort and Spa, your dog gets the red carpet treatment. That's why people trust us and pets love us. Offering doggy daycare, boarding, training, and grooming services for any breed, size, or style. From head to tail, we'll make your dog smile.
Choose from 4 grooming packages, from the basic bronze package of a hydrobath, shampoo and conditioner, wash and blowout, to the platinum package including spa services like a doggy massage and berry facial. Canine will help your pet look picture perfect. Receive a loyalty card where your 6th grooming package is free. Limited availability.
Visit canineresort.com for details on grooming packages, doggy daycare, and resort services. Canine Resort and Spa, where the posh dogs go.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs, with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
We all know there's nothing more refreshing than the taste of an ice-cold Coca-Cola straight from the cooler.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Whether it's celebrating a birthday, promotion, or just a great meal, make each moment a Coca-Cola moment.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Make sure you ask for the unforgettable flavor of a classic Coca-Cola.
National Drug and Alcohol Facts Month in Cayman is bringing a variety of competitions for all ages. Teachers, students, and schools, this is your chance to win big prizes by entering one or more of our competitions. Secondary schools and students, enter our TikTok competition, Battle of the Canvases, and the poster contest. Primary schools, your classroom door competition is all about healthy living. All the deadlines and information is on our website. Enter the competition. Let's get creative and shatter the myths today. For more information, check out our website, ndc.ky, call 949-9000, or email info@ndc.ky.
This is a public service announcement from your Radio Cayman, your community radio station. Here are some coronavirus prevention tips.
Home isolation means staying indoors and completely avoiding contact with other people. You need to do this if you have symptoms of COVID-19. If you are practicing home isolation, you should stay in a well-ventilated room with a window to outside that can be opened, separate from other people in your home. Keep the door closed and use a separate bathroom from the rest of the household if available. If you have to share these facilities, regular sterilization will be required. Consider drawing up a bathroom schedule for washing or bathing and have the isolated person using the facilities last.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for staying tuned. We will, of course, be having in about an hour's time the daily press briefing from the government, which will provide the official information. But in the meantime, we have the pleasure of Dr. Alexandra Bawden and Ms. Baldwin are here with us, who have a lot of expertise and knowledge about the types of things that we can do as a community, as individuals, to stay positive and to be constructive and to help one another even to the extent possible during this difficult time. So I'll hand over to these ladies so that they can take it away.
I'll let you go first, Dr.
Okay.
Bawden.
Yeah, well, I think that where the caller had left off was some good ideas, and I like that he gave lots of different options. And so really finding what's going to work for you is important, but it's going to be trying new things, right? Sure. A lot of our go-tos, so a lot of us have exercise. We were talking over the break that your gym is closing, my dance studio is closing. Yes. You know, there's these things that we have our go-tos for stress management that we're losing. Yeah. You know, we're not even getting up to go to work anymore. A lot of us are staying at home. And so that as well will bring on physical energy and tension and stress. So, you know, deep breathing is a great way of kind of taking the edge off. But if you are finding yourself in the higher levels of stress, something more active is often helpful.
Sure.
And so that maybe going for a run. I've seen more runners in the past week than I think I ever have before.
Right.
Getting out, getting into the sunlight.
Yes.
They're saying that vitamin D is actually really protective against this COVID-19 virus. So getting out, getting some fresh air, right? So not staying locked up in the AC with the other people that we've been isolating with. And so all of that can be really helpful to break up the energy, break up the tension, bring in some new energy.
Right.
And I think a lot of us are getting quite bogged down with everything in the home. And so it's good to get outside, especially if you've got kids. Get outside, let them run around, let them play. If they were at school, they'd be seeing lots of other kids and they'd be outside for breaks. So it's important to get out and burn off some of that energy, especially if we're used to doing it already.
Yeah. Of course, just with the caveat that, you know, as
6 feet away from other people, yes.
Yes.
Without touching them.
Actually, this morning I heard one of the members of the Legislative Assembly make the point that if you are in self-containment, or if you, for example, are one of the returning students that were studying abroad and you've committed to that particular program, then for that period of time, then you absolutely cannot decide that day 3 is okay to go to the supermarket or to the ATM or wherever you might come into contact with other persons. So with that exception,
Well, that's going to be getting creative.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be digging out that set of home workout videos that you ordered a while ago, or looking up some new ones.
Yes.
Figuring out how to do some stretching, or downloading some yoga videos from off the internet, or that you have on. I know I have old DVDs from way back in the day. I don't know if I have a DVD player,
on your
computer
probably.
On my old computer. I'll have to get out my old computer. But it's an opportunity to get creative with what we're doing, learning new ways of moving your body, and that's a great way to burn off a lot of the physical tension that we have.
And it can be something just as little as every time you get up off the couch, do some squats or jumping jacks, and then just do that throughout the day. Or if you need weights, use milk, the gallon milk or whatever, and just something that can
walking upstairs.
Walking upstairs, different things like that really makes a big difference.
Yeah, especially with the kids.
Yes.
Get them up and get them moving.
Yeah, make
Let them
walk
help
the stairs
you
twice.
Exactly. Take up their laundry one piece at a time.
But of course, I mean, we being as comprehensive as possible. There are people in our society who don't have the ability to to have as much mobility. But there are ways, like you said, there are always ways, if you put your mind to it, that you can improvise, that you can do some stretching, that you can, whatever is appropriate for your particular circumstances, there's always a way.
Yeah, well, I'd say there's other options as well. So the physical ones tend to be good, especially for higher levels of stress, if you're able to do it. And obviously, if you're not cleared by your doctor, don't do it.
Right.
Please. Don't be like, well, Dr. Bodden said. No. Dr. Bodden said, listen to your doctor. I'm not aware of your condition. But other things as well. Things like creative expression. So it might be things like painting or digging out your old flute or, finding new ways like writing stories or starting a blog. Anything to keep your mind busy and occupied, especially if it can be something productive, is often helpful. We said don't talk about what not to do, talk about what to do.
Right.
We're trying to get my dad to write a book.
Okay.
So that's actually what my family's been doing, is getting my dad to tell us the old stories of Cayman back in the day.
Okay.
And getting that down on recorders or typing it out on the computer. So it's time to catch up on those old projects that we've been putting off because no one ever has the time.
That's a good point, Dr. Bodden. I was going to say, there's always, you always kind of have that list, like you're saying, bucket list. Oh, if I had time, I would do this and this and this. Well, now here's some time for you to actually do and start some new things or try some new hobbies that you don't realize you enjoy.
Yes.
And things like clearing out the house will help to clear the energy and help you to feel better, especially if you're working from home. Tidying things up, sorting things out will help you to feel more in control and more clear-minded in your workspace. But even things like gardening and bringing in some flowers can be a great way to bring some of nature into you if you're not able to go outside.
Of course, and it gives you a focal point, which takes your mind off the negativity, which tends to be a bombardment. We have a call on the line, I believe, so I will just go straight to that call if that's okay. Good afternoon, caller. You're on Talk Today.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Schmidt.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to the ladies there. I just tuned in. I didn't know if anyone there was a medical doctor or is it like psychology or something.
No, we don't have any medical doctors. I'm a psychologist and Miss Natalie is a social worker.
Well, that is good enough. What I was going to ask is very important. Our minds are very, very important, you know that. And what I was going to ask is this. The reason why I said medical doctor. We now know, of course, that coronavirus has been around for a long time in different strains. It has been here a long time. And many times, I think it's 5 strains. This is the 5th one, most deadly one, and so forth, whatever. COVID-19, and because it was only realized in 2019 there in that remote part, China, that province or whatever
Wuhan, yes, sir.
They use, yes. Well, the thing what I'm wondering is this. Since it has been around, and it's quite possible that many people here might have contracted one of the forms of it, and because of it, just like a normal flu, we might go through the normal flu process, even with doctors testing and realizing that it's a virus, but maybe not picking it up as one of those strains. But I just wondered if there might be some immunity from it in those persons here, why we may find that a lot of people here might not get it. I know it doesn't affect most people. It's like 10% of the people will get very sick or whatever, and then another 3% may die, somewhere around there, or 4%. But I just wondered if there's any, whatever I'm saying, if there's any validity in it, that it may have developed a sort of immunity, even though this is a much harsher strain, if you can use that terminology.
Sir,
I just wondered if that is a possibility, if they have checked into things like that, or they're now doing that. Because I noticed that the United States has now turned their attention to one of the old drugs that they use for treating malaria, and they're going to concentrate on maybe vamping that up or whatever, cranking it up more instead of trying to create something new, and it may work. So I just wondered if there's any possibility in that there may be some immunity in people because of people not knowing that they may have had a strain of the one of the 4 that we knew about. And I heard, and from that it is possible that no one would have detected it or anything like that. I'm just wondering if it's possible then that there may be some immunity developed in us and so forth.
Yes.
And, yes. So I just thought I'd say that out there. And we have to pray, and we have to keep praying. It's very important, and we've always been a Christian conservative nation. But we also have to act, as I think the book of James mostly focuses on actions by Christians, sincere Christians, to act.
Yes,
and
sir.
we can't just sit down and quietly lie down all the while and meditate. It's good. But we have to get on. Life must go on, and your people will have to work.
Oh, yes, sir. I mean,
it's as simple as that. Thank you all very much for listening to me.
Sir, if you could just hold for a moment.
Yes.
I just want to say that obviously I'm a layman like yourself, and so I'm going to ask the ladies here to answer you to the extent that they can with respect to the scientific aspect of the issue of immunity. But I'd just like to say that obviously you have situations where, for example, and I'm sure you've probably heard as well, that some scientists in Australia have been able to map how the body's system reacts to this particular strain of the virus. But as to where we go from there, obviously, I'm not sure that anybody knows as of yet. However, and of course, I'll take the opportunity to also remind yourself and the listening audience that there is a flu hotline that the HSA has and others, but in particular the HSA hotline is available on 1-800-534-8600 or 947-3077 to the extent you have questions such as this, and that they can help. But if I could just turn over to the good ladies here to answer perhaps more from a scientific perspective to the extent that they wish to.
Yeah, no, I think that would definitely be a better question left up to HSA and the medical authorities. I did a quick search, which says that there's not really enough evidence about it to say whether or not immunity is possible, but not my area.
Right.
Yeah, I think what we've been discussing is what would help with your immune system is the exercise and your mental health.
Yes, not just meditation, but a lot of things actually.
Yeah, a lot of different things, eating right, making sure that this isn't a time that you increase substance abuse, any kind of things like that.
Improving engagement between families and so on. So, and...
Yes, I understand. I appreciate that. And,
yes,
and it is important what you said, exercise, keeping our bodies healthy. Exercise, and go for walks. We have a great breeze. We're lucky this is at a time, or fortunate that where there's a tremendous breeze, and I think that helps on heat. We're warm here, and the sea is right around. It's all sea around us. No thing to block it out and blowing away things. It does help. I believe that does help. And it's great what you're all saying, and keep your mind. We're from being so down with this thing, and keep upbeat, keep upbeat. This too will pass. Thank you all so very much for taking your time coming here and listening to me and offering that advice. Thank you.
Always a pleasure, sir.
Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you, sir. I think we have another caller on hold, so if you don't mind, we'll go straight to that caller. Good afternoon. Caller, you're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon again, madam.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hearing on top of Corona and anyway, there is some simple little cures that I always use on my children and myself for a common cold, which is to get potted aloe vera, get a regular stalk of aloe vera, scrape out the gel, and blend it up with honey and orange juice. It actually tastes almost like a fruit punch, but I had myself drink like a half cup every couple hours. And I've never had a cold with me or my children. It lasted more than a day.
You're a very lucky man.
It could be simple, but it could be something in that aloe vera that could help the coronavirus. You never know. It's like, I'm no doctor or anything, but it's like the little boy and his father watching a truck was stuck in the underpass, and all engineers are trying to get it out. A little boy said to his father, I know how to get it out. He said, yeah, how about you? What do you know all these engineers don't know? What would you do? He said, I would let some air out of the tire. Yeah? So sometimes a very simple solution can be the answer to a big, big problem.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you all very much for your time. What's your opinion on that, Doc?
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, and I think that's the overall sort of perspective, if you will, that both of you have been saying that sometimes if you take a step back and you look at the bigger picture, it's perhaps the best approach rather than focusing too much on in particular the nitty-gritty of the negativity. We have to go to a short commercial break, but we'll be back shortly, and we're fortunate to have these ladies with us for a bit longer.
Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location, ValueMed on Walkers Road or Town. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
To protect the health of staff and customers, Water Authority Cayman has ceased providing face-to-face service and closed its office to the public until further notice. Only essential services that ensure customers have water supply will be provided. Customers can still conduct business with the authority electronically. If you need to pay a bill, visit our website waterauthority.ky and click on the Pay My Bill button. Payments can also be made via the local banks. Customers can contact our customer service team by emailing info@waterauthority.ky or calling 949-2837. Customers in Cayman Brac who require truck water can continue to make requests by calling 948-1403. For updates and important messages from the Water Authority, visit our website waterauthority.ky and our social media pages.
A public service announcement from Radio Cayman. Coronavirus prevention tips. Advice for vulnerable people. Extra steps you can take to avoid COVID-19. If you have a chronic illness such as respiratory disease, diabetes, heart disease, COPD, hypertension, or cancer, or are elderly, over 60, or have a compromised immune system, you can further protect yourself with extra precautionary steps in addition to prevention tips. 1. Limit guest visits at home to a few family and friends or your district community officer during an outbreak. 2. Avoid guests who show signs of flu-like symptoms. 3. Remain 3 to 6 feet away unless being checked by your healthcare provider. More importantly, remember you are supported. Call the HSA helpline on 1-800-534-8600 or 947-3077 if you have any questions. For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon. This is Patrick Schmid sitting in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and it's a pleasure to be here on Radio Cayman and to be here for our listening audience out there in Cayman land. And I also am joined by two professional ladies who are being extremely helpful in disseminating information relevant to our community's coping mechanisms with the current coronavirus issue, and it's been extremely interesting, extremely enlightening and helpful, and I'm very glad that you're both here, Dr. Bawden and Ms. Baldwin. So it's definitely a pleasure, and so without further ado, I'm going to hand back to you.
Yeah. No, thank you. The last caller touched on some of the physical aspects. I figure we could talk about some of the signs of stress that your body may be experiencing. And so some things that are going to happen, and of course, we want, as we said, we want to validate, normalize this. Right now, all of us are feeling it, right? Whether we are in a high-risk population or not, with everything going on, all the changes around, because humans don't like change either, or uncertainty, all of us are going to be feeling it. So certain signs or symptoms that you may be experiencing would be things like difficulty sleeping. It might be nightmares. It might be difficulties getting to sleep. It might be sleeping too much. We might be tired during the day. We might find it harder to focus when we're at work. We might feel that we're more worried or more on edge or more anxious about things, worried about the health or the safety of ourselves or our family members, or just more worried about the normal things as well. So some of the normal stressors may be amplified. May have changes in eating patterns. Might be emotional eating and overeating as a way of trying to cope with a lot of the feelings going on. Some people under times of stress will actually eat less. So we might start skipping meals to work more or to try to get more stuff done. We might have see an increase in health problems, right? So a lot of times the physical symptoms will come out in our body in stomach aches or headaches, back aches. When that fight-flight response happens, our body tenses up. And so with that, that's when we see a lot of aches and pains come about. We also see recurrence of bad habits. So if you have any past tendencies that you're aware of, mine is definitely the emotional eating, French fries and milkshakes.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. So, we know what they are. It might be overeating. It may be things like drug use or alcohol use. If you notice that you normally have maybe a drink a week, you're starting to drink each evening or drinking more, that might be a sign that your body's under stress. So
Smoking more.
Smoking more, getting into drugs or using more drugs. All of these can be signs that we are looking for ways to try to cope with what's going on. And that could be a red flag for us to try to take a step back, maybe reach out to a medical provider, whether a GP or a therapist, your pastor, someone outside, to try to get some help, just to step back and learn some healthier ways of dealing with some of the stress that's going on.
Sure.
Yeah. So all those can be red flags that we're not handling stress as well as we had thought.
Sorry, I know Ms. Baldwin was just about to say something. It looks like we have another call on the line.
Okay. Yeah,
so if you don't mind, we'll go straight to the call. Good afternoon, caller. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon. I just got one little thing for you, and that's one for the panel, the doctors. I think one way it would help us, and maybe other diseases, is doing something about those retail cigarettes. Where, I notice in them small shops where, the clerk will sell you them cigarettes, and she's spending money in different different items. And, that goes right to your mouth, and I don't think that's a very nice thing.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much for that, sir. And
Thank you very much.
And of course, that's an important point. In fact, I heard the Minister for Health making that exact statement in one of the recent press briefings, encouraging people that this is a good time to consider, if they haven't or if they've tried before and failed, to stop smoking. Because obviously it is a respiratory illness, and so it serves the reason that if you have a healthier lungs and a healthier body, you'll be that much better equipped to cope.
Well, especially while we're all in such close quarters as well. There's obviously secondhand smoke for other people around, and in the States they're actually not talking about thirdhand smoke. So when you go outside to smoke, you get a lot of chemicals on your body from the smoke, and then that can then transfer to furniture, to pets, and the big concern when I was training in the States was actually babies, because then you're holding them against your clothing, which has the chemicals on it. So in addition to having the mouth part and the respiratory part, there's a lot of other concerns with smoking too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I agree. I take that off.
Sorry. So I think just when the call came in, you were about to talk.
Yeah, I was going to say something, but it kind of just lost my mind. But I definitely think that we've been talking a lot about the mindful meditation. I think we just need to start listening to our bodies. So whenever we had these feelings of and urges of wanting to have some substance abuse or triggers, know, hey, this is a red flag. This is a trigger. What can I do? What are some of the resources? What are some of the coping skills I can do instead of, going for the cigarette? Should I go for the walk or do something else? Kind of help maintain that.
Sorry, can I ask you, for parents who now have their kids at home, of varying ages perhaps, but how what advice would you give them in terms of being able to spot as early as possible the depressive behaviors or reactions to the negative news that they're being bombarded with? That is to say, the parents spotting that in their children and coping with it and setting up or creating a line of communication that perhaps they didn't have until now. What would be your suggestions?
I think that this is what Dr. Bodden mentioned about some of the physical symptoms, low mood, not eating too much, mood swings, different things like that. But I also think that this might be a good time for parents to actually be able to observe that, because too often we get too busy in the rat race and it's easy to get overlooked because there's so much else going on. So I would really encourage parents to keep that open lines of communication. If they're feeling low, I am feeling a little low, let's go for a walk, or let's do something, and let them know that they're feeling the same thing, the validation and the keeping it open line of communication.
So are there pragmatic ways that they can actually break the ice, so to speak? Maybe just a few examples. I'm not sure. I
think it depends on your relationship, but it could be simple as, I noticed that you're not eating as much, or you're kind of wanting to eat more of the cupcakes, or I've noticed these different things. It's kind of a lot going on. Do you want to talk about it? Right. It's really interesting when you talk with kids and youth. Just letting them be able to have a voice and speak, they will surprise you, and they will. A lot of the times they will tell you how they're feeling. Right.
And we have to go to commercial break. But just before we do, I just wanted to say that it just reminded me of a topic that came up actually this morning on OC's show as well, and has come up quite a few times. That is to say, engagement with your community. We do in fact have people at all stratas, so to speak, and we have some homeless persons, people with challenges and so on. And one of the things that I've noticed being suggested in other countries, haven't heard it here just yet per se, but that doesn't mean it's not out there, is putting together a care package with some food or what have you for those who are homeless, for example. So just food for thought, but we have to go to commercial break, so we'll be right back.
Headlines. With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Imagine if we all practice safe driving. Imagine if we all refused single-use plastic. Imagine if we all turned off lights when not in use. We can all do our part in making Cayman Islands safer, cleaner, and greener. Together, we can achieve. Visit gov.ky/safer, cleaner, greener to learn more.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
This is a public service announcement from your Radio Cayman, your community radio station. Here are some coronavirus prevention tips.
Self-isolation is an effective precautionary measure to protect those around you, your family, friends, and colleagues from contracting COVID-19. You or the person you are caring for should remain in your home except for getting medical care. Do not go to work, school, or public areas, and do not use buses or taxis until you have been told by the Public Health Department that it is safe to do so. You will need to ask for help if you require groceries, other shopping, or medications. please seek the advice from the Public Health Department.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for staying tuned in. My name is Patrick Schmid and I'm standing in for Sterling Dwayne Banks. I'm joined this afternoon by Dr. Alexandra Bodden and Ms. Baldwin, who both have a great deal of expertise and knowledge in relation to managing stress and turning a negative situation into a more positive one to the extent possible. And so we have quite a list of information that they would like to give to the general public. However, I understand that we do have a call on the line, so we're going to go first to that call and give the caller an opportunity to ask whatever question they may have. Good afternoon, caller. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon. How are you all today?
Good, sir.
Thank you.
I've been listening to the radio all the time. I heard someone brought up about Halloween and all this kind of thing, natural stuff.
Yes, sir.
The way I feel about it, the natural stuff cures a lot of different infection, inflammation, and this core virus are a big infection. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, the natural stuff will be the one and only one to cure that. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Certainly everyone is entitled to their opinion, and of course at the end of the day it will be the scientists who actually ascertain by virtue of the very intricate exploration that they have to do in order to determine that. But one thing that's for certain, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but is just boosting the immune system in every way possible. There certainly can be no harm in that. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Eating healthy is always important, but I would encourage anyone who is having symptoms to definitely follow up with their doctor. But those are great options to help to boost your immune system and to keep your body healthy.
Absolutely.
And I say prevention's better than a cure. So, so looking after yourself, keeping the distance, staying physically active, and making sure your body's getting the nutrients it needs is definitely the best chance to set yourself up for success. Absolutely. It won't guarantee you won't get sick, but it's going to give your body the best chance.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, Dr. Warden, I understand that there are a number of, some of them newer than others, but there are a number of organizations that whilst there's been some reconfiguration, would certainly could be helpful to people who are looking for some assistance. And I think you wanted to speak to that point.
Yeah. I will say anyone with a history of mental health concerns, now these kinds of times tend to exacerbate things that are there, even if it's been a while. Just be mindful of it and staying attuned to whatever your red flags are, and reach out for help if needs be. There's definitely nothing wrong with that, whether that's going to be your therapist, your psychiatrist, your GP, your pastor, whoever it is that you go to for support. Go ahead and reach out. For anyone who feels like they might need more support, there's lots of private agencies, like we're at Encourse Cayman. There's lots of private ones, BHAC, Wellness Center, Infinite Mind Care, Aspire. There's a lot of different agencies that are available. So reaching out to any of us, I think we all try our best to work well with each other. So if we're not able to help, we'll help you find someone who can. And so that's if you have insurance or if you're able to pay for it. The private ones are an option, but what I love about Cayman is our government actually provides free services to anyone in Cayman.
Yes.
Which is great, which is through the counseling center. They have walk-ins most days, and they can be reached at 949-8789. And of course, with everything going on, I was informed that they've actually moved to telehealth as well. So many of us are now doing therapy through video chats or phone calls.
Excellent.
So that way we're able to keep our distance, but you're still able to get the support that you need. So the counseling center has done that as well. So I'd say give them a call if it's something that you're interested in, 949-8789. That's also on my website, and if you, which is drbodden.com. But if you look up the Counseling Center or Department of Counseling Services, that's an option. Or you can also access it through the Family Resource Center, which is 949-0006, and they can actually help with intakes too. So we've got,
sorry, Dr. Bowden, go ahead.
So we've got those, and then we also have the helpline, which I've been told is live now.
Yes.
And so that's going to be for anyone who's just looking for some support or looking for resources. They can give a call. So similar to the Flu Hotline, this is for anyone who's looking for help with emotional concerns or difficulties or stress or any concerns with mental health. And so that number is going to be 1-800, make sure I get this right, 534-6463, and that's going to be available. That will be run through Employee Assistance Program and Counseling Center, so we will have professionals who are answering the calls. If needs be, then there'll actually be other professionals helping to man the lines at other times as well. But we've got that up and going. It's something that many of us have been talking about for a long time. I'm so glad that the government was able to do this during this time of need, because I know there's just so many questions and concerns right now.
It's a 24-hour service, is that correct?
Not right now. So right now it's just going to be from 9 to 5 during the week, so Monday to Friday.
Right.
But if that goes well, then they are prepared to, and they are considering opening up to other hours as well.
Right. Excellent. I believe you have a call on the line. Is that correct, Paul? So if we could just go to that call. Oh, we've lost the call. I'm sorry. Caller, please feel free to call back. We do have a little bit more time. I'm not exactly sure when the briefing will start, but we do have a bit more time. We now have the caller back online.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Yes, good afternoon, Patrick, and to your panel.
Good afternoon.
I just got a video chat from one of my grandchildren from overseas.
Yes.
And he did say that also to tell the children here that they have it made in the shade, because it's sunny here. And he doesn't have it made, but a lot of his schools are also closed, and he's not having any fun. So he told me that if I believe what I tell him in cards, that if I believe so much in prayer, he says, Nana, he says, you better be careful, because if you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer.
Right.
So that was from Matthew 21, verses 22. But then again, if they said, if you keep on believing whatever betides you, knowing that God will be with you to guide you, and all that he promised will be yours to receive if you trust him completely and always believe. I thought it was very wonderful, and I wanted to share it with you. And actually, his aunt is a psychiatrist, and she's helping a lot of the children their age group, and he wishes me not to pace up and down,
right,
and to wipe my phone constantly with alcohol pads, because he says I talk a lot. So anyway, it's good communication, and I'm glad that they're doing well. And they said they have 115 cases in their state.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for that contribution.
Thank you, Patrick, and have a good day to your panel and to yourself, and continue the good service.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, you too.
I can't say thank you enough to both ladies who are here with us. I think we have the phone lines are now closed. Unfortunately, the phone lines have now been closed because we're not quite sure when we're going to have to break for the press briefing, which of course everybody's going to need to tune into.
Mm-hmm.
And if they haven't thought about tuning into it, definitely they should. It's going to be broadcast on CIG TV and also via their Facebook page. And I'm sure that if you're not sure about how to tune into that, then you can just give Radio Cayman or the government administration building even a call to ascertain those facts. But Dr. Bodden, I think I may have interrupted you when the call came in.
No, that's okay. I was just going to mention the last resources, which would be if school counselors. So if there are any concerns with kids, reaching out to their pediatrician or to the school. A lot of times our school, I'm not sure how that's going to be operating right now, but that's always an option. And of course, in any case of emergency, so if anyone is talking about suicide or there are any concerns for their health and their immediate safety, the hospital and the A&E at Georgetown Hospital. So 911 or A&E.
Right. And of course, we can't overemphasize how much that is a possibility that people get that down in circumstances like
For
this.
sure. There's so much going on that anything that's there and underlying can definitely come up. That especially feelings of hopelessness and helplessness come up a lot and can lead to increased feelings of suicide.
Yeah.
Those people in particular, I recommend, and whether it's ourselves or if it's a loved one that we have, reach out and get support to them.
Yes. Absolutely. Just to say on the point about the school counselors. Now, I'm not exactly 100% sure about how that works, but yesterday when we had the pleasure of the Honourable Minister for Education and the Chief Officer, Mr. Tony Cacho, come in, they did say that they were regularly publishing contact details for the principals and for others, other significant staff members who could be contacted by parents or by students, and they were disseminating that information through all the channels that they can utilize for both the private schools and the public schools, of course.
Okay,
At least that was my understanding. I hope I haven't misquoted them.
Well, and if not, if on the break the school counselor is not available, the counseling center does see all ages.
Right.
They're very good about accommodating and working with anyone who comes in.
Sure.
I think it's just important to know just to reach out. That can be the hardest step, is to reach out, but to reach out to any of these contacts for help.
Yes, and especially in when we're effectively in isolation, even if we're not in self-isolation or in quarantine, at the end of the day, circumstances have completely changed. There's been nothing like this before, and not in our time anyway. And so it's all new for us all. It's all challenging for all of us. So, I definitely would like to emphasize the importance of everything that you both said with respect to everyone reaching out whenever they feel it they need some help, but trying as best as possible to self-help and to stay positive and optimistic and look towards the future more so than focusing on the barrage of negative information, which is quite possible that might happen. Ladies, is there anything else whilst we have a few minutes before the press briefing that you might wish to add, or any additional advice that you have for the listening audience?
Well, I would say just as we talked about on the break was that it was a lot of information that we shared.
Yes.
So the routine part and picking one thing maybe to start with today.
Yes.
So don't don't start your book and a new exercise regime and a new garden all on the same day, but pick one and go for it. Just get up and do it, even if you don't feel like it, especially if you don't feel like doing it.
Yes.
Just get up and do it.
And once you do it, also congratulate yourself, and that will help to keep going.
Yes. I mean, certainly, it makes sense to me that having that sense of purpose is fundamental. It seems as if we're just about ready for the news, and so we might have a few more minutes, but we're going now to the news.
Yeah, thank you.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only two species that we have, on my island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
For today's biggest news.
Access.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
Police Commissioner Derek Byrne says you can expect to see high visibility when it comes to police in the coming days. The RCIPS have redirected their traffic resource and community policing resources, firearms response unit, and canine resources, and they are all performing high visibility patrols. Officers are visiting supermarkets, banks, the hospital, and medical facilities, as well as the airports through the weekend. There has also been a shift to their schedules with a move to a 2-shift system. Officers will now work in 12-hour shifts, 4 days on, 4 days off. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Argentina has announced a national lockdown. All citizens are banned from leaving their homes except to buy food and medicines until the end of March. The number of coronavirus cases in Latin America has not reached European proportions, but media reports say, judging by the decisions taken in the last few days, governments there are not taking any chances. And 4 Indian men convicted of the gang rape and murder of a student in Delhi in 2012 have been hanged today. The 4 men will was sentenced to death by a trial court in 2013. The four were hanged in the capital's high-security Tihar prison in the first executions in India since 2015. The victim died from her injuries days after being raped by 6 men on a moving bus. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Vamped Motors is putting the brakes on for coronavirus. Strong in service and safety, Vamped Motors remains open to customers and is taking all extra health precautions needed. To eliminate cross-contamination, protective covers are being used on vehicles being serviced that are then cleaned and sanitized before they're returned to owners. All test drive vehicles are being wiped down thoroughly before and after every test drive. Vamped Motors is doing these things and much more to ensure the safety of everyone who comes through their doors. They've even set up outside seating for anyone who prefers enjoying a fresh breeze while waiting to collect their vehicle. Let's all stay safe, keep our hands clean, and practice social distancing while we work through this together. Staying open to serve your automotive needs. Vamped Motors on Walker's Road. Come see us.
Preventing dengue is as simple as preventing mosquito bites. Use a mosquito repellent, wear protective clothing, and stay indoors during early dawn and dusk when mosquitoes are most active. Control the places around you where mosquitoes breed. Remove stagnant water in outdoor and household settings. As a weekly habit, persons should change the water in vases, clear the water in saucers under potted plants, and ensure air conditioner drip trays are free of stagnant water. Outdoor objects capable of holding water should be kept empty and preferably disposed of or put into dry storage if not used. These include open bottles and tins, watering cans, buckets, empty paint tins, and old vehicle tires. Do your part to control the spread of dengue. The dengue virus is an infectious disease transmitted through mosquito bites. Symptoms may come on as early as 4 days or as late as 3 weeks following an infection. There is no vaccine or specific medication to treat dengue. Symptoms of dengue include high fever, headache, pain behind the eyes, joint and muscle pain, and rash. If persons have any of these symptoms, they should go to the nearest health center or hospital. It is advised to drink lots of liquids and avoid medication that contains aspirin.
This is a public service announcement from your Radio Cayman, your community radio station. Here are some coronavirus prevention tips.
Home isolation means staying indoors and completely avoiding contact with other people. You need to do this if you have symptoms of COVID-19. If you are practicing home isolation, you should stay in a well-ventilated room with a window to outside that can be opened separate from other people in your home. Keep the door closed and use a separate bathroom from the rest of the household, if available. If you have to share these facilities, regular sterilization will be required. Consider drawing up a bathroom schedule for washing or bathing and have the isolated person using the facilities last.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. My name is Patrick Schmid and I'm standing in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. I have the pleasure of being joined by Ms. Baldwin and Dr. Bawden, who have been talking with us about each time I'm saying their name slightly differently, pardon me, just to keep everyone else on their toes. But we've been talking about the very important issue of staying positive during this extremely difficult time. And not focusing too much on the unknowns, but on the knowns. And just a word of warning, shall we say, that we may have to break at any given point for the press briefing, which will be provided directly by the Honorable Premier and his team. So with that in mind, I'd like to go back to the professionals for them to provide us with any additional thoughts that they may have to add at this stage.
Yeah. Well, I was just having a look through my notes, and one of the things that jumped out at me was talking about not sharing the bad news or the fake news as well. So making sure anything you do share comes from valid resources. But, taking responsibility for ourselves is one of the things that we often talk about, because no one else can make you do anything or make you feel a certain way. So, it's up to each one of us to be mindful of the symptoms of stress that we talked about. And if we are getting to the higher levels of stress, do something. Focus on what's in your control. There's a lot out of our control right now that we can't do anything about. So focus on what you can do for yourself, what you can do for your kids each day. Making sure you're eating enough, they're eating healthy things, that you're getting your water, also good for coronavirus. They're getting out in the sunlight, also good for coronavirus, right? So all these things that are good for helping us stay healthy are also good for helping us manage emotions and manage stress. Staying active, involving relaxation exercises or meditation can help us. These are things that we can do to help to bring down the stress levels, refocus, and make the most out of this time that we have. It's such a unique time to seize the opportunities that do come up.
I suppose one of the things, if I could, is that a lot of times people generally across the globe do not necessarily understand the link between physical health and mental health. And I think that they're intricately, in my own layman's opinion, interconnected.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with what Dr. Bodden says. Everything that she just mentioned, we should be doing on a regular basis anyway. But also what you said, Mr. Schmidt, is it's all connected. We're all in one, the mind, the body, everything's connected. And so when one thing is off, the other thing is off, and we need to be taking care of the whole body. And I think that's one of the things that gets misinterpreted, because you don't think mind as part of the body. It's the physical aspect. And just really to be aware and take that first step. And like I said, if it just means you're actually cooking breakfast, even though you didn't want to, and skip it, to do that and making the effort, because it does make a bigger difference than you think in the attitude.
Give you a positive feeling about it. And sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was going to say, because that reminds us that we're important as well. That's the getting up, getting dressed, making sure that we're eating, looking after our bodies reminds us that we're important. Times like this, it can feel like we're just kind of going along with whatever's happening, and just the whole world is happening to us.
Yes. And a lot of times I think that many of us, including myself, don't realize that it is within us to actually pull out the positive and put aside the negative for a little bit, or for a lot, hopefully, and to develop that positive framework, and therefore understand what we need to do each time more and more, to be able to.
Well, and I'd say looking out for others as well, because sometimes we are so in the thick of things that we don't realize, how we've let things go, how we're not eating, how we're not sleeping well. So it might be just keeping an eye on friends and family members as well. Know the resources we talk about, the mental health helpline, the counseling center, the Flu Hotline. That kind of information, that's good, solid information, can be helpful. So we can step in and be like, hey, give these people a call, or let's call these people together and see what's going on and see who can help.
Absolutely. Ladies, I'm just going to take the opportunity to thank you both from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of all of the listening audience for this important contribution. I know that we're about to go to the press briefing, and so if I don't know if you had any final words, or whether we should leave it there for now and then hopefully we can reconvene. I'm sure there are going to be lots of calls for you to reconvene. But nevertheless, it's been a pleasure to have you both here, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having us.
As well.
This is a public service announcement from your Radio Cayman, your community radio station. Here are some coronavirus prevention tips.
Self-isolation is an effective precautionary measure to protect those around you, your family, friends, and colleagues from contracting COVID-19. You or the person you are caring for should remain in your home, except for getting medical care. Do not go to work, school, or public areas, and do not use buses or taxis until you have been told by the Public Health Department that it is safe to do so. You will need to ask for help if you require groceries, other shopping, or medications. please seek the advice from the Public Health Department.
For the latest updates and information, please visit hsa.ky/public-health/coronavirus or gov.ky/coronavirus.
Insurance is complicated. Make your life easier and better protected with comprehensive financial solutions from FIS Insurance Brokers with plans from life, health, property insurance, motor, public liability, and professional liability insurance. Whether you're protecting your family or your business, leave nothing to chance. Understand your options and protect yourself for the future. Speak to your FIS Insurance Broker agent today, located on Shedden Road by MoneyGram, or call 623-5616. Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic, your life connected.
Hi, I am Dr. Lee, Chief Medical Officer in the Ministry of Health. The Ministry and the Department of Public Health, along with our partners, are working hard to help protect residents from the novel coronavirus. Did you know that following travel advisories is especially helpful in controlling infections? So, avoid travel if you have a cough, flu-like symptoms, and a fever. It's also important to practice general infection prevention measures at all times. That means frequently wash your hands and avoid close contact with people suffering with acute respiratory symptoms. To read more about the Public Health's travel advisory and other updates, please visit hsa.ky.
I nearly lose me life in Baden Town to a talking parrot that was around. I nearly lose me life in Baden Town to a talking parrot that was around. At the married woman's house I stole a chance. The man came while I was in romance. He rushed in the house, the girl rushed out, and in the heat of excitement the parrot shout, "Hey Danny, a man inside. Search well, he gone and hide. Danny, search all about, cause the fella went inside and he come back out." Well, it's now excitement start. The girl rushed out to the parrot. She said, "Pretty, what's wrong with you?" The parrot shout out, "You know it's true."
Live from Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is breaking news.
Good afternoon and welcome to our press briefing here at CIG TV studios. I'd like to welcome the media as well as you, the listening and viewing public. I'd like to begin by introducing our sign language interpreter, Miss Carolyn Powell. She's going to be with us going forward on all of our press briefings for our hearing impaired here in the community. Now I'm going to introduce the panel, starting with His Excellency Governor Martin Roper, our Premier, the Honorable Alden McLaughlin, the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, Minister of Health, the Honorable Juliana O'Connor-Connolly, Minister of Education, and Dr. John Lee, our Chief Medical Officer. Again, welcome to everyone. Dr. Lee, we begin with you.
Good afternoon. This is to announce the results since the announcement yesterday. 23 additional samples have been run through the Health Services Authority laboratory, and all of those 23 samples have come back negative for COVID-19. I also wish to make another announcement, which is long-winded, I apologize, but for legal reasons I feel it's necessary to do so. The medical officers of health shall report to me in that under the public health law they shall at all times exercise such powers or discharge such duties subject to the general or special directions of the Chief Medical Officer. Under Section 24 of the public health law, whoever refuses or neglects to comply with any direction given by a medical officer of health having at its purpose the prevention, control, or suppression of infectious disease, or enters a hospital or other place used for the reception of carriers or persons suffering from an infectious disease, or leaves such hospital or place without the permission of such an officer, or refuses or neglects to comply with any of the requirements or conditions of observation, isolation, or surveillance, is guilty of an offence. I am announcing that I require all returning people to this island to be isolated, subject to the description as given by the Premier earlier in the week, under the Public Health Law, Section 24.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Premier McLaughlin.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and listening. I just want to underscore what the Chief Medical Officer just said. We require that anyone who is returning to these islands isolate for a period of 14 days. If it is not self-isolation, then they must be isolated in one of the facilities that the government has made available. Thanks to our private sector partners, the hotels, who have been so good and such good corporate citizens to allow us that facility. Today has been another grim day for those that follow the news internationally with respect to COVID-19. Italy has announced that its deaths, which now exceed 4,000, are greater than the number in China. Now that is quite amazing, actually, when you think that Italy is a country of 64 million people and China a country of 1.4 billion. And you really must ask what has made the difference. There are really important lessons, I believe, in what has transpired and is transpiring in those countries. In the case of China, they immediately put into place, as soon as they became aware of the nature of this virus, very, very stringent provisions relating to the movement of people, essentially. I don't know if they use the term social distancing, but that's in effect what they did. And it made all the difference in the world. Italy and many countries in Europe and indeed in the United States went about it a bit differently. And quite frankly, waited a very long time before they sought to, in the context of this virus, to impose those restrictions. And now we have a situation where overnight, Italy recorded 631 deaths. In the US, California, a state of 40 million people with an economy the size of that of the United Kingdom, is now in full lockdown, as is New York. Here, we are doing everything we can to get ahead of the spread of the virus by imposing the measures that we have. So far, so good. But this has a long way to go and a long way to run. We are, as I've repeatedly said, with the sheer number of visitors that we have in the course of any week, although all visitors are now prohibited as of yesterday, as of the close of that aspect of the airport operations yesterday. And the number of returning residents, we are still at real risk of the community spread of this virus. And that is why I have asked the Chief Medical Officer to refer everyone to the provisions, or that particular provision of the public health law, to ensure that everyone takes, who's returning or has returned recently, takes seriously their obligation to isolate. Turning now to what I will call some good news relating to the measures, or some measures that are being taken by the banks, and indeed now, and Cayman Water Company, as well as Rubis, the fuel supplier. I am really happy to say that I am so pleased that corporate Cayman is so conscious of the need to help everyone get through these most difficult economic times that are yet to come. There are going to be much, much tougher times coming than the ones many people are experiencing this week. And so it is good that Cayman National Bank have also now offered a blanket 3-month payment holiday to persons who have loans with them. That is to be absolutely applauded. And Cayman Water Company, too, has also agreed, as did Cayman, as did the Water Authority, not to disconnect people for at least 60 days and to work with people who struggle to pay their bill at the end of the month, and to offer payment plans in that regard. Rubis has issued an announcement saying that with immediate effect, it has reduced the rack rate of fuel by 40 cents a gallon, and are urging the retailers to apply this immediately at the pump. So those provisions are going to continue to offer major breaks to all of us as we struggle through what is bound to be a difficult economic period for the foreseeable future. I think the payment holiday the banks are offering will be of real assistance to people who are self-employed and to businesses, particularly small businesses, because there's going to be, and I'm sure already is in many cases, a significant downturn in business, and they will have the ability to keep what would have been their mortgage payment to help get through that difficult time, or this difficult time. I am convening discussions next week with my caucus and my cabinet, and indeed I am proposing to invite the opposition into some of those discussions to talk more broadly about the economic issues that the country is facing and how we grapple with them. For even if this virus, this epidemic were to come to a screeching halt in a month's time, what's happening more broadly to the global economy will take much longer to come back to anywhere near where it is now. And we all have to plan and make provision for how we survive what are going to be very lean times, I believe, through the end of the year at least. So these are issues which I think deserve and warrant national discussion, and so we certainly want to involve the opposition in those talks. I'm also convening a special meeting for us to look at government finances and where we are and how government gets through this period as well. As I've said many times, government is very well placed given the prudence that we've exercised over the course of the last 7 years. But with tourism, the tourism industry completely in tatters and virtually no revenue coming in from that end, and with what's happening in the financial markets, no question whatsoever that financial services are also going to be very seriously hit. And so we have to plan for the way forward to ensure that the Cayman Islands government, not just for the next few months, but for the foreseeable future, is in a position where it can continue to pay its bills, pay its staff, and do all of the other things that are necessary to help our people and our businesses who themselves will be struggling just to survive through this very, very difficult period. So I think with that overview, I'll ask the governor to make whatever observations he wishes.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. And let me just first of all say that I fully support everything that the Premier has just said. And indeed, to back up what he was saying about what's happening globally and where we are in Cayman, I was looking just earlier at the World Health Organization, the latest advice. I mean, they're saying much remains unknown about this virus, but a number of countries and communities have successfully brought outbreaks under control. And their advice is act early, act fast, test every suspected case, break down that chain of transmission. And that's exactly what we are doing here in Cayman. So again, I strongly support the greater clarity to our returning students and residents on self-isolation, because that is really important. And we continue to take the proportionate response to the risks that we face. And it's welcome again that we have no new cases today, that the latest batch of cases are all negative. I also think we are, in a way, fortunate that we are a long way from where many countries are in experiencing this virus. So that does give us an opportunity to learn from what they've done well and what they have not done well. And that gives us an advantage in how we tackle this. There is a lot of work going on. I think people find it very difficult because we can't put a timetable at the moment globally on when this will end. But there is a way through, and that should give us hope and confidence. There's a lot of work going on vaccines. It will take time. Boris Johnson, the UK Prime Minister, yesterday announced that there is a development of a home testing kit which can be rolled out and would be rolled out very quickly. And that would then offer the possibility of being tested, and if you're clear, you would be able to go back into the workforce. So I just want to convey that there is a huge amount of work going on to try and help us find ways out of the situation we are in. And of course, if those home testing kits are available, the overseas territories would absolutely be part of that. I just want to make two final points. One is that a lot of people have sought to leave our islands this week whilst the airport is still open on the BA flights and many other flights. I think once we get past this weekend, we will need to look at whether there are people who still have emergency travel needs. So we are exploring, or we will set up an emergency travel hotline next week, and we'll give more information on that next week for lots of people on the islands who might have questions about how do I get out if I absolutely have to get out, whether it's a medical emergency or some other reason. And I finally just want to say a big thank you to all our staff, Customs and Border Control, and at the airport this week particularly, because they have been on the front line. It's been an incredibly busy time at our borders this week, and they've done a terrific job. So thank you to them. Thank you.
Minister for Education, the Honourable Juliana.
Thank you. Good evening to all. I'll first start with a general synopsis of what has been undertaken with the ministry. Our ministry, MESAL, the senior management team, has developed and now fully fleshed out our business continuity plans and protocol, which includes various scenarios as it pertains to the progression of the coronavirus here in the Cayman. We are now in scenario 2, which covers a confirmed case in the community. Scenario 2 consists of our staff working remotely, utilizing digital tools such as Zoom, WhatsApp, emails, Citrix keys for offsite operations. This plan is being followed by the operational arms of our department and the various units within the ministry. I'll move on now to education. As you would know, we took the decision, Honourable Premier and government, to close our educational institutions on Monday, the 16th of March, and we are currently set to reopen the 27th of April 2020. The measures that have been employed by our schools to prepare for such school closures, our Department of Educational Services sent out a survey to all of the parents in order to ascertain the access to the levels of technology in their respective residences. To date, we have received 1,600 survey responses, and that is of yesterday. The deadline for the response is today, so we would urge all outstanding recipients of the survey to please make every effort to get them back in so that we can go to the implementation stage of our respective policies. Home learning contingencies have been implemented in our schools. Each school has provided educational instruction through a combination of channels, including paper-based learning packages, a daily timetable, and access to online platforms. The government schools have put in place online platforms as follows: Twinkle, Power Math, iCompute, iExcel, RASKIS, in order to facilitate continuous learning among our students. We are also in continuous communication with our parents. The main online platform that our government schools have implemented to communicate with our parents and guardians is the virtual learning platform Everest. Let me repeat that again. The virtual learning platform Everest. Parents, guardians can also communicate with their schools using the different mediums such as their WhatsApp groups, Class Dojo, Edmodo, email, Facebook, InTouch, and InTouch allows messages to be sent to our parents and guardians. The fact that this will have on grade 11 students, in particular as it relates to CXC, today we are unable to say exactly how the closure will affect year 11 students who have final exams coming up, and this is because CXC has presented a number of options, and our team is considering those options and the impact in the upcoming school year. And once that consideration has been duly completed, we will revert again and make the necessary communication. As it relates to GCSE, the UK Department of Education just yesterday announced that all summer sit-ins of examinations have been cancelled. This includes our A-level and our GCSEs. As more details come to light, again, we will duly inform the public. Access to CXC study materials. We are currently exploring access to CXC content through a public-private sector partnership with Flu. We will continue this communication and dialogue with them, and if successful, this will allow our students who are undergoing examinations to continue their learning and practice directly as it relates to the CXC syllabus. We are continuing to monitor developments internationally and within the region. Access to Zoom. Teachers do not have to pay for Zoom, and this is one of the questions that have been emanating from that sector. There is a free version of Zoom that is available. It can host 100 participants up to 40 minutes for group meetings. This also allows unlimited meetings, which give teachers the option of multiple of 40-minute sessions with their respective classes. There are plans for students without internet at home. The schools have created and in fact have now distributed take-home packets for students without technology access. There's also monitoring of the online teaching. We have requested that all of our principals ensure that all necessary steps and provisions are made for learning to continue. Based on the information from the principals and teachers to date, they are taking these necessary steps and will continue to expand the curriculum provision based on any new resources that may become available. Moving on now to tips for parents to monitor home learning. We would once again emphasize that education involves a tripartite relationship with the government, the teachers, and the parents, and we're now calling on the parents to join up and invest in this partnership. We would ask you to create a quiet workplace for your children away from distractions and indeed encourage them to maintain good learning and working habits. This will indeed allow you to simulate the classroom environment and maximize the learning effect. Communication with students. Teachers will continue to communicate directly with parents and students through traditional communication methods such as telephone, WhatsApp messages, and emails, as well through the Class Dojo, Edmodo, Google Classroom, Skype, and Zoom. Guidance to parents who have not yet received and take home packages. Parents who have not yet picked up your packages with the learning materials or who have additional questions may contact the respective principals and or the school directors at your child's school. Additional access to information of COVID-19 in schools for a trusted and reliable source for all official updates and information on COVID-19, monitored daily, or the press conferences, and indeed you can visit the website at www.gov.ky/coronavirus. Moving on quickly to the returning residents, as we know, based on our talk show yesterday and monitoring that have been coming in from our Q&A section, 8 of those persons scheduled to arrive on international flights today have opted to utilize the dedication isolation facility. That, of course, will change based on the announcement from the CMO today. There were 29 persons currently housed at the facility. A team from the ministry and volunteers from some of our departments have been at the airport since yesterday, working to welcome and assist the returning students. Bus contractors and janitorial teams have been deployed through DES, Department of Environmental Services. Buses are fully cleaned and sanitized after each trip. Scholarships. A proposal has been put forward to waive fees for students applying for full overseas and local transcripts. The proposed period commences 23rd of March and will end on the 30th of April to be further extended if it's deemed necessary. Free school meals. All primary school canteen providers are on board. The John A. Primary School was not spoken to because they had asked to engage in a voucher program. We have received full support from Kiwanis and from the Feed Our Future to run a voucher and a daily lunch program. Feed Our Future will provide vouchers from fosters and will deliver to schools. They will also collect the Kiwanis vouchers. The Feed Our Future will pay the canteen operators directly using existing protocols. Moving on next to my area of responsibility for the Department of Agriculture to respond to some of the inquiries from our farmers. As it pertains to the operating hours of the various units and services under DOE, or Department of Agriculture, such administration nursery will continue to open, as well as the warehouse, abattoir, animal control services, and updated operating hours will be available on our website, which is www.facebook.com/agriculture-Cayman. And it will also be available at www.gov.ky by the end of today. Our efforts to protect our staff and our customers are regularly updated and placed on our social media platform. Installation of an outside sales window has now been established on Cayman Brac. Reduced hours and office closures have been posted on that office. This is done in an effort to reassure the public that we are taking all precautionary measures necessary. All vulnerable employees have been sent home to self-isolate, and we continue to monitor our staff in the event there's a need to take further action and related to further requests for isolation. Redeployment has been activated internally. Flexible work arrangements have been arranged for the staff at agriculture to allow them to also work remotely. We have increased our sanitation efforts in order to prevent the various measures, and they're still being practiced and communicated to those who need to have this relevant information. We have heightened our efforts also in this area. The Department of Agriculture has significantly increased our ordering for feed and fertilizer to ensure that we can meet the demand of our local farmers. Despite significant increases that we've seen in the recent weeks, the department has assured me that they have been able to service every customer's demand to date, and we are certain that we have adequate supplies en route. Every effort will be made to service our commercial farmers first, as is the normal protocol. Farmers who have ordered seedlings will be notified anon when they are ready for collection. The Animal Control and Welfare Services trapping service has been temporarily suspended. The animal shelter for rescue is now closed. We will continue to monitor and address any serious animal welfare or control issues. The farmers market continues to operate, as we believe that it's akin to the supermarket and is an essential source of food. We're asking that all persons attending the market to follow the CIG and HAS recommended actions regarding COVID protocol. Finally, the Water Authority. We have closed its office to the public effective today to protect for the health and safety of our customers and our staff. Penalties will be waived for the month of March. The authority has developed a COVID-19 payment deferral policy for customers facing financial hardship due to coronavirus pandemic. Customers can contact the authority via email info@waterauthority.ky. That's info@waterauthority.ky. Our phone 949-2337, 949-2837 to discuss a customer service representative in a payment plan if deemed necessary. In the interest of public health, the authority has postponed all disconnections until further notice. Customers that were previously disconnected due to past non-payment are asked to contact the authority via email so that proper and adequate arrangements can be made to reconnect to your service. The authority is providing essential services only. These are services that will ensure that customers have water supply and wastewater services. There are a variety of ways for customers to make payments. Payments can now be made online by visiting the authority's website, www.waterauthority.ky, or through our local banks. Customers can pay with a check via the authority's office drop box. Cash payments can be made via local bank counters or at our post offices. The water staff will continue to work on rotation or remotely where possible. Those are that is my update for today. And let me just say that although I will be returning to my constituency this afternoon, we have been operating via Zoom, and we're in contact with my team. I have a very capable team, and if at any time questions need to be asked, Ms. Satonia, my chief officer, is ready, as well as Ms. Monteith, who's here today, Wilbur, and Ms. Tammy. Julia is just a phone call away, and my team has been doing a tremendous job, and I want, through Honorable Premier and through Your Excellency, to thank them for their work that they have been carrying out assiduously and for their dedication for love of this country.
Thank you, Honorable Juliana. Honorable Minister for Health, Dwayne Seymour.
Good evening to the people of the Cayman Islands, including Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Because it's been 9 days since we have now historically had a press conference in the Cayman Islands, some people are saying it's like the old days of waiting for Dallas and Falcon Crest at 2 p.m. every day. Just a light moment. Once again, I want to thank all those persons who have adhered to the measures the government has put in place for the whole country's safety. These are times to show leadership, and I can say I am proud of the civil service, the cabinet, the HSA, all the medical providers in the Cayman Islands for responding with such speed and calm. They, at times, are working nonstop. We thank you all for the compliments you send us, as this helps us reaffirm we are taking some of the right steps. We are at the start of this, and we want you to brace yourselves as this elevates, and it will. But if you do what we have suggested with your social spacing and isolating yourself and not leaving your homes unless it is necessary, we will respond quickly to this, and coming out on the other end may be quicker than some may think. But we have to do and follow the measures that are put in place. Maybe there will be more closings, more restrictions. We have tried to move as necessary, knowing full well that our people are not used to these measures for so long, especially. And I hear some of the parents, as mentioned earlier, who are having some challenges with their online learning with some of their children and so forth. I say to you, I know it's consuming right now. I can only say as a comfort, it will not last forever. And the more we do to restrict our movements in the public, the faster we are going to come back to some normalcy. The 1-800-534-6463 is the mental health hotline. That's 1-800-534-6463. That is the promised number that I said I would get for you. The mental health, hotline. Also, there's a prescription hotline or WhatsApp line, and I want to take the time to say that it's 925-6534. It's a prescription WhatsApp line. So step one, you take a photo of your prescription label. Step two, you send the photo to 925-6534 via WhatsApp. And step three, you pick up the prescription the next day at the Cayman Islands Hospital Pharmacy. Please, please, let's love the process, not just the end game. God bless.
Thank you, Minister. I will now open the floor up to the media.
Thank you, Donna. Good afternoon. Reshma Raghunath, Cayman Compass. I'll start with you first, Dr. Lee, and your announcement today. Now that you have, can you tell us first, are all the tests completed now for the COVID-19?
Tests are accruing every day, so no, they're not complete. It's anticipated that we will continue to run the tests as regularly as required in order to run the samples. At my last count, there were around 12 outstanding, but that number's probably gone up a bit since I was given that figure.
Okay, so for all intents and purposes, the initial 60 cases have all been completed?
Yeah, sorry. The 60 were the ones that had been done locally. There were the 5 previously that were sent off to CARFA, so it was 65 up until yesterday. And then there's another 23 from today.
Okay.
In order to try and help this particular issue, because I know people really want to know these figures, I think it's operative, or it will be today or tomorrow. We'll have a dashboard on gov.ky/coronavirus so you can track the figures yourself.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That would be helpful. You made a statement saying you now require all returning residents to isolate themselves. So it's now mandatory isolation as opposed to voluntary isolation. Am I correct?
That's correct. That if you do not comply with that you are guilty of an offence.
So can you tell us what the penalty for this offence will be?
My understanding, and this is something that's just come up and I need to clarify, but my understanding it would be the same penalty as to be in breach of the regulations that were previously announced about, and that would be 6 months imprisonment or a fine.
Okay. So
Up
can you...
to 6 months imprisonment or a fine.
Yeah, sorry. And $1,000 fine, right? Can you tell us why you decided or why this decision was taken to implement mandatory self-isolation or mandatory isolation?
There appear to have been a lot of concerns and reports that people may not be complying. I don't have fine granularity around that issue, but because it's of such utmost importance in order to protect the health of the people of Cayman, we felt it was necessary to compel people to stay put.
In terms of the arriving or returning students, we know that they had the option to go to the hotels for isolation. Now, will returning residents also be sent to that isolation hotel?
They can still isolate in their own homes. Nothing has changed really about how we would like them to isolate, but we're just now requiring it rather than just requesting it.
But is that option available to returning residents? I don't know if you may be able to, or
I do not. I have to admit, I don't. I I don't have the latest update on that myself. I'm not sure if Honourable Premier has.
I believe it was for students and essential staff.
Premier, maybe you can shed some light. Is that an option available to returning residents as well?
If there is the demand for it, absolutely, we'll put it in place, because we can simply get another one of the hotels if we have issues around rooms. But most people will want to self-isolate at home or somewhere else rather than be put up. That's certainly the experience we've had so far.
Dr. Lee has something else to say before we move on.
I just have a few points I hope I might like to raise. The first thing is just to reiterate that the fact that the restrictions you're hearing, the words that you're hearing from the people on this panel and right across the community from all the doctors are really, the intent is for you not to mix with people. So please, will you comply with the intent of what we're trying to do? Don't gather together in groups, whether it be a sports group or any sort of community group. Don't use your strata pool. Please do not gather at any place where you might mix and share with other people, even if temporarily there might be a little bit of a gap. The only thing we really think that you ought to do is to go on a walk or a run on your own or in your family group, your household. That's what we think, because that you'll be doing essentially in an isolated group. That's the intent of what we're trying to achieve. So please, everybody in Cayman, try not to mix with other people and keep your distance. I had a few other things to say. Secondly, it's a point that's been raised, so I just want to bring it out that if COVID becomes more widespread, then rather than people coming to Georgetown, yes, we will be having access to flu clinics in the districts. That will certainly happen. As far as the dogs are concerned, you'll see that our sheet has changed now to update our advice to be in line with what other countries have also changed their advice, is that there's no evidence that pets can be infectious, and we've lowered the level of what we're saying. And lastly, I know a lot of people have been texting me today and yesterday about the issue of hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine, as there's been shown some advantage in initial drug trials as far as these drugs are concerned. I suspect there may be some truth to that. More studies are running now. So for the professionals that are in Cayman, whether they be pharmacists or doctors, please continue to act responsibly with regards to prescriptions for hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine, because we may need to preserve those stocks for use for people who are seriously unwell. So please act responsibly.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Kevin?
Good afternoon, Kevin Morales, Cayman Compass. Dr. Lee, can you talk a little bit about the tests that the governor has spoke about when we opened the press conference? We talked on our chat earlier today that before anything like that would be, I guess, used or implemented, they would have to be approved by the CDC in the United States and other organizations. How long does that process usually take?
It usually takes quite a while, Kevin. But I have heard that there are some tests that are getting through that process. I know everybody who's running an accelerated process, and basically you just have to run hundreds of these kits versus the thing that you trust and see what the results are. So if you put enough people to the task, just as when you're in a war state, you throw enough you throw enough people and supplies into the job, that the results should pop out quicker. So I hope it'll be soon, and I'm really hopeful that PHE may be able to get some supplies to us. It will change. It'll probably change how we approach this disease, and it may allow us, and I'm blue sky thinking here, if we have enough of the test kits so that we can test it whenever we want to, just at the drop of a hat, it may allow us to consider some of the restrictions or relaxing some of the restrictions. But we'll have to work out very carefully how that's done and how we use the test in order to achieve that.
And speaking of that, any update on the reagents since yesterday?
No.
Okay. And I know that...
I know they were sent, but I don't know if they've arrived yet.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I know we had talked earlier in the week about, for the local testing kits, we have to continue to send them off to CARPA until, and correct me if I'm wrong, until we've got enough correct results locally, that we can trust that the local tests are correct. And my second follow-up question is, so far, have we been at 100%?
As far as
local tests,
we have not received any results back yet from CARPA.
From CARPA, okay.
And I will tell you when we have those. They were sent. They hadn't arrived as of first thing this morning. I haven't had an update since.
Okay, all right. Thank you. My next question is for the Premier, Mr. McLaughlin. It's interesting to hear you guys talk about enforcing this law with the returning students to make sure that they're acting responsibly. My question is, how do we enforce that? How would the police even know who a returning student is? Or are you relying on people to make reports, et cetera?
All of the above. In the case of the students, we know who they are, or the system does. Once we get reports that people are wandering around that just came in, someone's going to come and look for them. It's very difficult to enforce. I mean, I've said that all along, because we're talking about, even now, still a few, quite a few hundred people. We've got 2 more flights, one tomorrow and one on Sunday, from the UK. But we've had many flights and many thousands of people coming back home over the course of the last 2 weeks. All of those should be in self-isolation too.
Thank you.
Kevin, can I just add to that?
Oh, sure.
Please, can I just advise, it's exceedingly dangerous for a young person to have any amount of activity that has been sanctioned by the legal system on their record. It can really jeopardize their future, and the young people should think exceedingly careful about crossing that line, because visas, job applications, everything may be prejudiced for quite some time.
That leads me to a question for the Honourable Minister of Education that relates to returning students. If a student who's on a government scholarship is found to have broken this mandatory isolation request, can their scholarship be withdrawn? Is that something that would be considered?
I think it would depend on the circumstances. Obviously, it would be a criminal breach, and we would certainly support that. But we would have to see what the circumstances are. I think that for now, we ought to just concentrate to send a message out that this is not a joke. The entire government supports them not breaching it, and that there will be consequential issues after that. I don't think it could be scholarship, but it could also involve more. So I would not like to isolate it to just the scholarships. But certainly, as Minister of Education, I want to support everything that has been said here. We put a lot of money, millions of dollars. I have a budget of about $12 million a year that we put into scholarships. This is the future and the cream of the Cayman Islands. So we expect that that level of responsibility is taken very seriously, and that they stay put either at home in self-isolation or in the provided accommodation, because prevention is everyone's business.
Okay. A question from Wendy at Cayman News Service for Dr. Lee. She's asking if you could clarify your comments made yesterday that people who may have COVID-19 but who are asymptomatic cannot spread the virus. She said that this is disputed by many medical professionals around the world.
It's come up countless times. This applies to adults, the advice, and essentially it is the advice that you'll find on, for example, Centers for Disease Control of the United States, that people, if you're not symptomatic, you're unlikely to be a significant cause of transmission, essentially because you're not coughing and sneezing. So even though your viremic load may be very high in the 24 hours before you actually develop symptoms. That advice may change with time, but it is currently the advice that's widely given by all the international large agencies of public health, which is why you're hearing it from me as well. I think the restrictions that we've put in place around trying to reduce people's movements will have a far-reaching effect, and will hopefully mean that even that advice is aided by the restrictions that we've put in. The situation for children is different. It's highly likely that children can go through a carrier process, whether they're actually having the problem or not, with COVID and not have any symptoms at all. So I was referring to the adults, yeah.
Okay. Another question from Wendy at CNS. Premier McLaughlin, I believe this one is for you. Given the low interest rates, will the Cayman Islands government consider expanding what is now relatively low debt and doing some significant borrowing as a safety net and a way to fund expansion of public sector to keep people in jobs and the economy going? Maybe for a finance person? I don't know.
No. Those are all things that we are going to discuss intensely and intently over the course of the next little while. What we cannot allow to happen is for government to become cash-strapped, as I said earlier, so that we can't pay our outgoings and we can't support our people in this time of need. We will do everything we have to do and call on the UK to assist us in that regard. I don't mean necessarily for them to give us money, but I mean to relax ratios and so forth around public finances so that we are able to do what we need to do to get through this time.
And let me just add, I know already the UK is looking very carefully at all that and will, of course, be very sympathetic of the situations that all the overseas territories face. So, I don't envisage that being a problem.
A question as it relates to private schools. Some people are asking if any type of relief is going to be offered either to parents for fees. For private schools, apparently they still have to pay the fees, but the kids are not in school. Minister for Education.
What I would suggest, obviously government each year gives $1 million to our private schools, and they have a formula that they use for distribution of the same. That was scheduled to come to a close to the 30th of June, and we were implementing a new system where they could apply to Education Council for special projects. Obviously, that was pre-coronavirus, and because this government, which I'm honored to be a part of, led ably by the Honorable Premier, takes education as one of our major priorities. If they would contact, I would say in the first instance, DES, Department of Educational Services, put their proposal forward so that we can get a grip of it and have a considered position. I would not want to go down the limb and say yes, no, maybe so, because we are a fiscally responsible government, and we want to ensure that it is a considered decision.
Okay. Someone was asking about British Airways, the flight crews who normally would go and stay or whatever. Will they be disembarking the British Airways flights from now till Sunday?
They will, and that's because normally they would go via Bahamas, and that's how this is normally dealt with. But full precautions have been taken to sort of isolate the BA crews that will be here. So that has all been fully considered and fully taken care of. But yes, we obviously want these flights to come in, and we need to help people get backwards and forwards. So we had no alternative, but we have managed the risk fully.
Okay. There's a question from a group of folks who are from Suriname and Guyana who said that they're employees that are now without jobs, but their borders have been closed since the 14th and the 17th of March. And obviously they're panicking because they can't afford to stay here, yet they can't go home to their home countries.
Right. So this is a question I've addressed at a previous meeting. So we can't and we won't let people who are here be without a roof over their head, without food to eat, and without the means to live. Regardless of where they come from, regardless of what their circumstances are, we recognize fully that this is a worldwide crisis. The borders of many, many countries have been shut. And what I would urge the individuals to do is to call the NAU. The number in Grand Cayman, I presume they're in Grand Cayman, is 946-0024. Or send in an email and explain the circumstances so that we can take the necessary action to ensure that they're looked after for as long as they absolutely have to be here. But I would hope, they obviously had employers, that their employers would step up to the mark and at a minimum help them through this process, if not actually help them financially.
I mean, I just want to add that I fully support what the Premier has just said, and I think once we get past this weekend, we are going to find there are probably quite a lot of people who are in a situation which is difficult, whether it's not having income or funds or a job, but also there may be travel needs. And as we've closed all scheduled services, which is why I mentioned as well this new emergency travel hotline which will be set up, because I think we need to assess what the issues are and then see what we can do to address some of those, because we have closed our airports and we as a government have an obligation to people who are here as well, and we want to see what we can do, and there may be a role also for the UK in this, because it will be an international sort of travel aspect.
Premier McLaughlin, I heard what you just said about employers, but over the last few days, there have been lots of complaints, particularly as it relates to employers of small businesses, who too will be struggling and are struggling thus far during this time, that can't help folks like we just talked about. And the big companies that are able to do it have already stepped up to the plate to do it. So I think there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be saying, well, I can't get the help because they can't help. They need the help themselves. So, yeah, the number for NAU, again, is 946-0024. For anyone who needs assistance, you can call them. And, of course, if they meet the criteria, they will get the assistance that's needed. Any more questions from the floor? Ralph?
My first question is for Dr. Lee. Ralph Lewis from Cayman Times. Can you please provide an update on Health City's progress in coming back online with your services?
They're doing a good job, as we knew they would. I previously mentioned that Public Health in Cayman worked through the processes and some workflows for them to manage the people who'd been affected, and also for the remainder of the hospital, which was large parts of it were not affected. I can't speak for them. You'd have to contact them directly about how they're going to stage their reopening. But I'm fairly reliably told that many of the staff came out of quarantine yesterday. But they will. I think they're going to take about a week to get up to full running.
I can say, Dr. Lee, I've been speaking to them about that, and pretty much what you're saying is right on point. Within the next week or so, what they are gauging also, if I may say, is they won't move forward until CARFA has clarified our results here.
Okay. The second question is in the topic of one of my favorite topics, personal finance. In the next couple of weeks and months to come, everyone's going to be worrying about their money, even the wealthy as well. Will the government consider foregoing some of its revenues in the form of reducing taxes in order to impact things such as fuel prices? And because that sort of affects everybody overall, because that, in a sense, trickles down to electricity costs. Is the government considering in the future plans to maybe forego some taxes in order to assist with the shortage in cash?
The duty on fuel imported for the purpose of generating electricity is only 25 cents a gallon. It's not going to make very much difference for government to remove that. Yes, government is going to look at whatever it can do. We are operating on the basis that this is temporary, albeit how long temporary means is not within our grasp. The knowledge of that is not within our grasp at this point. But I've gone through some of the measures that utilities and banks are taking to reduce the outgoings of businesses and individuals. Those, I think, will go a long, long way. If you don't have to pay your water bill or your CUC bill or your mortgage for 3 months, that is money, significant money. As long as you're still earning something, that's a significant savings. The problem is that for many people, they're just not going to have jobs. So they're not going to have any income. So with as many businesses as we can keep going so that they can hire people, including government itself, we're going to do whatever we can to ensure that that happens.
And my final question is to do with public transportation. Have taxi drivers and bus drivers been advised on what steps they should take to protect their passengers, to wearing a mask and cleaning the bus properly, that sort of thing?
Well, we have not advised people that they should wear masks. Dr. Lee will explain to you that unless you are symptomatic, that actually is not terribly effective and may actually create a false sense of security about how safe you actually are. I've indicated some what I call common sense things that people should be doing, distancing themselves as far as possible and not overloading the vehicles. I can say that Cabinet will shortly make regulations that actually govern the density of people allowed on public transport, preventing people from or not allowing people to stand, and various other measures. We have somebody looking at that now. The issue was raised, I think, yesterday at the press briefing, and we've taken it away as a concern, and we'll make the appropriate regulations.
Felicia Rankin-Solins, Radio Cayman. There are older people who are on their own and suffer from chronic illnesses but are advised not to go out. So how do they get assistance? Because we've heard some people have also checked NAU's website, but they haven't found relevant information to tell them what to do.
Well, they'll have to find, obviously, someone to help them. I had a situation last night with an older lady who needed she wanted to go out and get groceries herself, so I had to try to arrange somebody to go and help her with those things. So this is a community effort. There is no way that the government system is going to be able to provide each and every little service that every person needs. So we're going to have to do what Cayman has always, and you notice I said Cayman and not just Caymanians, Cayman has always done in times of crisis, help to look after each other.
Minister of Education, this is for you. Do you have any advice for those who compete in individual sports like track and field or swimming, and who may have been in the middle of prepping for bigger events and games like the Olympic sports later on in the future, with things up in the air? What advice should be given for them in this period, since things are put on pause?
I would strongly advocate that they do individual training. A lot of them have participated before, as we've pretty much canceled all of our local sporting events that we have control over. Certainly we've pulled the team for a crifter. We're watching what's going to happen with Olympics in July in Tokyo. They haven't yet decided, as far as I'm aware, until yesterday. I would hope that they used all of the information that they have and cancel based on information that we have, but if not, I would be strongly recommending that our team does not participate unless there's an actus novus intervenus to show that there's a complete clearance because of the travel route. And with the genesis of coronavirus there, I think it's going to be extremely high risk. But their World Games, other games that will be coming up, I would ask them to do individual training. In the age of technology, that can be done with their coaches through phones and through guidance, but to refrain from that communal participation as much as possible.
If I could ask a quick question. The directive for school closures, does this also apply to private healthcare businesses that deal with special needs children and adults as well?
When we sent the directive out, it was for all educational institutions, and we expect that wherever learning is going on, whether it's for SEN, special education needs, or otherwise, that they should now be closed.
Premier McLaughlin, some civil servants would like to know. Some civil servants would like to know if they will get paid early in April as well. They got paid early in March. So.
They give me far too much credit. Those things don't get asked of me. Ask His Excellency.
Yeah, I think that we will take that away.
Okay. Did you have another question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, go
Thank
ahead.
you, Donna. This one is for Dr. Lee. Now, you mentioned patients who are using hydrochloroquine some of whom are severely ill and need these medications for survival. Are you recommending then for those patients to get their prescriptions filled at this point to ensure that they have this medication should the need arise or there be a global shortage with the demand for this drug?
I mean, obviously, those are a critical, absolutely critical bunch, and they must have access to their regular supplies. What we don't want to see is for prescriptions popping up for people who don't currently have a need for it. That we really don't want to see. But anybody who's currently on that medication, and it's often for quite complex reasons that they're on some sort of immunosuppression, they should remain on it.
So is there any way to ensure that pharmacists don't, say, fall victim to people who pass under-the-counter cash so that they could get prescriptions for this particular drug?
I haven't been able to update myself with everything that's happened so far today. I have seen something, but I don't know where it's gone, from the Health Practice Commission to a group suggesting that they act responsibly, but I haven't got the details of it. I just glanced at it very quickly. I can certainly say that as far as the Health Services Authority is concerned, any new prescriptions for the drugs in question will need to go through the chief pharmacist, so they have put a stop to any and they'll have the biggest supply on the island to put a stop to any new prescriptions that look like they may not be warranted at the moment.
Okay. I can say, Reshma, that I've spoken. I saw the reports, and I saw President of the USA endorsing this product. And I know that there would be a rush. And I spoke to the CEO of the HSA. And yes, we do have the drug on hand. We have a considerable enough amount. And more is on the way also. More has been ordered because of what we've seen. So we're on it.
Okay, thank you very much. That's critical. Premier, this is a question for you. Yesterday we talked about the NAU situation, and you promised to undertake into an inquiry into what's happening with calls and applications and the problems. Can you brief us on that?
Yes, thank you. I did. The reason why people couldn't get through is it hadn't yet been set up, but I don't know whether it was the questions here or what, but it's up and running now. And as I said before, the number is 946-0024 for Grand Cayman, 948-8758 for Cayman Brac. 948-8758 for Cayman Brac.
Okay.
So, as I said, they've sent home. That sounds terrible. They're allowing a number of people to work from home, and they're setting the system up so that they can answer these calls, do the applications over the phone, the interview and so forth, so they're able to assess whether or not the people qualify for the assistance. And the email is NAU, capitals, INFO @gov.ky. NAUinfo@gov.ky.
Thank you for that. Now, you also announced some good news when it comes to the banks and the concessions that they're giving to their customers. Are those, or is there anything that you can say to landlords or people who are renting from individuals who may benefit from these these payment breaks? Because we've gotten concerns about that from members of the public that the owners of the properties are benefiting from this. Is there any way, I know we have no rent control, but is there any way or any plea that you may make for these individuals to pass on the same savings that they are benefiting from onto their tenants?
Well, of course, I would encourage everyone to act in as charitable a manner as you possibly can in these grave circumstances. But that probably isn't worth a whole lot. But this I know is this thing called market forces. Right? So in very short order, we are going to know what the impact of thousands of people leaving here really means and the absence of visitors. There is going to be a plenitude of apartments to choose from, and that is going to drive rents way down. Now that is obviously bad news for landlords, but those who are paying mortgages will themselves have a break in terms of servicing those mortgages for 3 months, at least in the first instance, until everybody has a chance to see how this epidemic plays out. So I've heard a lot of anxiety. People call me, people write me, people see me and ask me. And that's what I've said to them. Just hang tight for a week or two, and you'll be able to bargain with your landlord.
Okay. One final, and I'll. Thank
okay.
you. Now, yesterday the police commissioner was here, and he talked about projecting an increase in domestic violence reports with people being in confined spaces and situations like that. Has government contemplated providing any sort of provisions for the safety of victims who may find themselves in these abusive situations so that they can, one, protect themselves from the violence, but also keep safe from the pandemic that is currently happening?
Oh, you really pick the easy questions, don't you?
Well, I mean, there is the Cayman Islands Crisis
I was going to say,
Centre and
we've
the
got
various helplines.
We've got a range of agencies and hotlines that are available. If we see that, they're being overwhelmed, then obviously we'll deploy additional resources there so that people are able to be dealt with. As I've said before, there is the upside. Well, that's probably even wrong to say upside, but the thing is that with so many people gone and with no tourist industry anymore, facilities to put people who are in trouble for one reason or another are generally available, and the private sector has been magnanimous, quite frankly, in offering these facilities. So I'm confident that if that should become an issue, we'd be able to find a way to work through it.
Premier McLaughlin, someone is noting, if it hasn't been thought of yet, that we should ensure that fishermen feed the stingrays at Stingray City. If not, one of our main attractions will be gone. Because there are no tourists going out there every day. There are no,
Suggesting the Premier goes out in his boat to feed them. He's got enough to do at the moment.
Premier's a farmer, not a fisherman.
They're worried about one of our main attractions. If they're not fed, they'll migrate somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
No, it's a fair.
Yeah. So we got to make sure the fishermen feed them.
I think they've heard.
Yes. All right, Kevin.
Mr. McLaughlin, and obviously you're going to need fuel to fill up your boat. You had mentioned a little bit earlier in the press conference about Rubis. I believe it was slashing its cost by 30 cents per gallon. 40 cents per gallon. Thank you.
Per imperial gallon.
Per imperial gallon. Thank you. Other than, I guess, making the recommendation here, is there anything that you can do or the government can do to ensure that the retailers follow suit? And the reason I'm curious about it is I was actually looking this morning, over the last month in the U.S., the national average has dropped by something like 30 cents, where in Cayman, I believe it was 5. So what can we do to make sure that the retailers here are step in step with the fuel prices, I guess, abroad and what they're being offered by someone like Rubis?
Well, the comparisons aren't right across the board, which is the mistake many people make, is that you're talking about U.S. gallons as opposed to imperial gallons. So imperial gallon is quite a bit more than a U.S. gallon. So they're not direct comparisons. And then there are travel, transport costs, and all of those other things that have to get added on. But I don't think that we're going to really have an issue with this time, because this is an edict that is coming from Rubis themselves. So, and they control most of the stations themselves. So I'd be surprised if this proves to be a problem.
Okay, thank you. My next question is for the education minister. Would you mind running down again the cancellation of the tests and what can be done for families and students in terms of rescheduling or et cetera?
want to reschedule it.
Well, the tests are overseas tests, so we are reliant on those examination bodies. Some of them, all of them actually, we're still in dialogue with them, in particular the CXC. We don't have any determinant as to what they're going to do. Fortunate for Cayman, it is affecting all of the regions, so it will be a level platform. What is done will for Trinidad will be done for Cayman as well. As far as the UK is concerned, our information that I've been provided was that the UK cancel it. Now, since that, there have been some question as to whether it's been cancelled just for the UK or whether it's been cancelled for the international centres as well. And we'll seek to elucidate on that, and we'll provide the Honourable Premier with an answer at the next press briefing if we're in receipt of that information from the UK.
Okay, thank you. You'd also talked about e-learning. We've had a couple people reach out to us and say, hey, listen, what if we don't have internet access in our home? What can families in that situation do? And has government considered at all providing Wi-Fi to families in that situation?
Well, the good thing is the government, without knowing what was going to happen now, we allocated laptops to every single teacher in the public system before. So that, in effect, makes it easier for the dissemination of the information to those who may have internet. Because we're also aware, and in addition, we've done this survey, which I indicated we had 1,600 responses and hope to get more at the close of the date today, so that we can better do a forensic audit to see what obtains with who has access to internet and who doesn't. Because we are sending out the actual packages, but of course you'll always find somebody falling through the social stratification and for whatever reason not coming in. I've said to the team from last week to look and see what the cost is for providing iPads or laptops to the relevant student level, whether it's key stage 1 through 4. I think discussions need to occur as well as we talk with Flo about them taking the social responsibility, digital and other ICT, to provide more hotspots into the territory. I saw in watching World News that that had been done, for example, in Florida. They ensured that it was, free access. So I, perhaps with the kind permission of the Honourable Premier, if I could use this medium to ask the ICTA to take that social responsibility. Cayman has been good for them, and I can say that I worked as an accountant for Flo many years ago. If they would take that responsibility to ensure that those who had limited packaging for data, at the minimum, if they could increase that and to look actively to providing all of our students. And perhaps if I would be permitted with indulgence, Mandela said that if you think that education is expensive, try ignorance. We are a nation-growing community, and everyone needs to come on board, because there is absolutely no way that government can be expected to be expended all these funds, which we, through the able leadership where we have been doing, but also be asked to decrease the inflow, because if you have an outputs and no inputs, we know where we're going to end up. And we have proven to be a fiscal responsible government, luckily with a very healthy reserve, but it's going to take true partnership. Cayman, I re-emphasize, has been good to many, many here. Let's come on board and ensure we weather this storm.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're going to end the press briefing this afternoon. We know that our leaders have important decisions to go away and make. Hopefully things will stay stable over the weekend. So on Monday, we'll be back here again with you here on CIGTV. We'd like to also thank our sign language interpreter, Miss Carolyn Powell, for joining us here. We wish everyone a safe weekend.
Could you talk to everybody?
Of course, that was your press conference for this Friday, March 20th. Just in case you missed the beat, Radio Cayman will be repeating the press conference come 7 p.m. later on, following the information hour.
If your business is over here, but your customers are over here, adding more yellow to your business will bring you both right here. With everyone searching Yellow's print, online, and mobile app, getting your business noticed is easier than ever. Book your consultation today at findyellow.com.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
And for 45 years, we have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center,
specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
Take a time out from your busy week at Merengue Town. Easy vibes, happy times. Feel the vibes and flow of Merengue Town. Every night is a new night to feel the flow. Drink specials, pool table, and top island DJs weekly. Cheers! Had Sam, Diane, and Woody. Merengue Town has the beautiful Elizabeth, Ibis, and Johnny. Shed your stress. It's time to feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibes. It's time for Merengue Town.
You know you've dreamed of that Mercedes, the smooth leather, the style. Ooh la la! With the Lions Club of Grand Cayman Benzarama. Now is your chance to make that dream come through. Get your ticket for the Benzarama fundraiser at Lorna's gas station in Bodden Town, West Bay Esso, Funky Tangs, Reflections, and South Coast Bar and Grill. Event Pro. Also from any Lions Club members. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman Benzarama fundraiser supports site screening, Christmas deliveries, restoration, and social services.
Radio. With the switch of a dial, radio brings you tragedy, comedy, entertainment, information, education, a whole world at your command.
Give me some sound over here.
Radio Cayman's Super Jam Show.
Radio. Proudly sponsored by the Cayman Islands Football Association. CIFA, building a better future for Cayman football.
Word up, and we in effect. Keep on listening.
Super Jam. The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center. Don't take chances with your family's future.
Another proud sponsor of the Super Jam Show.
Merengue Town.
Time to feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibe. It's time for Merengue Town.
And by the Lions Club of Grand Cayman Benzarama. Get your raffle ticket to win a 2020 Mercedes-Benz A200.
We have push for this, push for that, push for this, push for that, push for this, push for that. Right. We have push for this, push for that, push for this, push for that, push for this, push for that.
Corona, are you listening? Cayman Brack, Little Cayman is talking to you, man.
Friday, no accident or incident weekend begins right now. I'm going back to the Brack again. Cayman Brack and Little Cayman.
Brack party block on Radio Cayman. Hey, yo, Brack party, is this thing on? Brack party.
This is Aaron.
This is Aaron. You're listening to the Brat Party Block.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What is going on now? Brack party block. Brack party.
Welcome to the Brack Party Block, celebrating Cayman Brack and Little Cayman.
Corona, where you going? Can't be Cayman Brack and Little Cayman, man. They've got bush for this, bush for that, bush for this, bush for that.
Brack Party Block, not a concrete block, not a cinder block. The Brack Party Block. Yeah, block, right now, block up, let's.
Brack Party Block.